Chapter 379. Roar, roar, Acatosaurus's body twisted slowly in the air. Divine aura surrounded it. This mysterious power allowed Acatosaurus to fly and ride the clouds. This was probably the difference between a real dragon and the tens of thousands of pseudo-dragons. Acatosaurus appeared very angry in the face of the dragons. It let out a series of angry roars, causing the dragons to look at it in awe. Some of the dragons even cried out in pain and retreated back to the walls of the dragon abyss. However, Lin Muyu's body continued to fall. There was an extremely strong force pulling him down into the endless void. Save me! He held his longsword and looked at Acatosaurus, who was releasing his dragon's might in the air. As if sensing its master's anxiety, Acatosaurus let out another roar and charged down. Lin Muyu looked up as he fell. He saw Acatosaurus looking at him with its mouth wide open. Its body was covered in a blood-red glow. In the next moment, Acatosaurus's body seemed to disintegrate. Its scales, flesh, and blood turned into streams of blood aura and flew toward Lin Muyu. A few seconds later, dazzling scales surrounded Lin Muyu's armor. What was even more mysterious was that the crimson crystal scales on his back merged together and formed a pair of crimson crystal wings. Human and dragon became one. At this moment, Lin Muyu had already assimilated with Acatosaurus's feelings. He could feel the dragon's anger and the dragon's reliance on him. The crimson crystal wings on his back flapped rapidly and stopped his body from falling. Lin Muyu was shocked. He looked at his body. His wrists, arms, knees, and boots were all covered with a layer of crimson crystal energy. It was as if the dragon had added a new layer of dragon armor to its body. It even gained the ability to fly. Armor. The sixth ability of the psychic art/animal taming art. Lin Muyu was overjoyed. Her depleted Do Chi had recovered quite a bit due to the crimson crystal dragon's armor. With a spin of her body, her sword slashed at the dragons that were charging at her. With a flap of her wings, her body flew upwards at high speed. Her long sword was enshrouded in the energy of the first appearance of starlight. She stabbed at the lower jaw of the 11,000 years old dragon. Kacha. The sword chi pierced through the dragon's skull. Just one strike was enough to kill this 11,000 years old dragon-type spirit beast. Lin Muyu grabbed the dragon's head in mid-air and took out the spirit stone before it fell to the ground. She felt that the energy in her body had reached its limit. Was she about to break through? He was overjoyed. If he broke through, he would reach the sanctuary realm. Could it be that he was going to become a sanctuary realm powerhouse today? In the air, although the dragon's corpse had fallen, the dragon's wild beast spirit had not dissipated. Lin Muyu did not leave. He flew in the air and summoned the treasure refining cauldron to refine the wild beast spirit. Perhaps the power of the wild beast spirit could help him break through quickly and step into the sanctuary realm. Around him, the dragons were still flying around. It seemed that they had not given up on the idea of eating Lin Muyu. They still wanted to swallow this powerful human. However, they were afraid of Acatosaurus's true dragon power and Lin Muyu's powerful strength. Therefore, they only circled around and did not make any moves. Lin Muyu quickly refined the wild beast spirit. In less than 20 minutes, the refinement of the wild beast spirit was almost completed. The golden gourd and god-binding chains absorbed and refined the wild beast spirit at the same time. This speed was obviously not comparable to a single martial soul. However, Lin Muyu was not sure if the two martial souls could obtain new abilities at the same time. It would be a pity if they could not. Finally, when the most stubborn wild beast spirit was refined, the god-binding chains and the golden gourd shone brightly. They had both evolved to the 9th level. Lulu's laughter could be heard. Congratulations, big brother. The green gourd has obtained a new ability, Dragon Armor. The god-binding chains has also obtained a new ability, Dragon Power. One is for defense, and the other is for offense. Congratulations, big brother. Okay. Lin Muyu could feel that the god-binding chains had been infused with a new kind of majestic power. It was the power of the dragon. On the outside of the golden gourd, dragon armor could be faintly seen on the surface of the gourd. The two martial souls had advanced to the 9th level at the same time, and they had obtained different abilities at the same time. This was truly delightful. But what made Lin Muyu even more ecstatic was the surging power in his body and the powerful spiritual storm that was produced in his Yi. The power in his body condensed into a whirlwind of fighting aura, which was the symbol of the power of the holy region. And the spiritual storm in his Yi was slowly released, causing the giant dragons flying around him to howl in pain and retreat. This was the symbol of the spiritual power of the holy region, the holy region coercion. The power of the domain. This is great. He was overjoyed. However, at this moment, there was a sudden wave of crazy aura in the spiritual pulse technique. On the left front, something seemed to be waking up rapidly. In the dark, two blood-red lights appeared. Lin Muyu looked closely and was immediately shocked. It was a beast embedded in the stone wall. It was also a huge dragon. Roar, this time, it was the armored Acatosaurus that felt uneasy. It madly roared at the beast in the dark. Roar. A deep and fierce dragon roar sounded. The other party responded. In the dark, a black body spread its wings and flew. It was a huge black dragon. Its body was covered with black scales, and there was a pair of blood-red eyes on its ferocious head. There were a total of 15 golden lines and 2 silver lines on its head. This was a 15,200-year-old dragon, an old dragon. And looking at the shocked reaction of the surrounding dragons, this old dragon should be the Dragon King of the Dragon Abyss. Roar. Roar, the black dragon roared crazily. Dark dragon power began to appear around its body, quickly condensing into extremely hot flames. A pair of blood-red eyes stared ruthlessly at Lin Muyu, as if it wanted to tear this insignificant human into pieces in an instant. Lin Muyu stared blankly at the stone wall behind the black dragon. There was a person imprisoned on the vine-covered stone wall. It was an old man with a pale face. His shoulder blades were locked to the wall by iron chains, and his sea of energy was pierced by a spear. It was unknown if his sea of energy could still be used. Under the light of the dragon spirit sword, the old man slowly raised his head and looked at Lin Muyu, who was covered in dragon armor. His pair of turbid eyes were filled with excitement and agitation. You? Is it you? Lin Muyu's heart ached so much that she almost cried. Chu, it's me. Chu was in tears. I thought I would never see you again. You have to be careful. This Black Dragon King is very strong. He has suppressed my power for 3 years. You must be careful. Although you have stepped into the sacred realm, but, you still have to be careful. And, don't worry. Lin Muyu held the sword with both hands and looked at the Black Dragon King sternly. She had to get rid of this black dragon first before she could save Chu. At this time, Lin Muyu's fighting spirit was incomparably high. For Chu, she had to kill this Black Dragon King no matter what. Regardless of whether she had the ability or not, she had to do it. She raised the sword and gathered the power of the stars. Suddenly, it was first starlight. Roar. The powerful Black Dragon King was not someone to be trifled with. After a furious roar, he actually condensed a black barrier in front of his head. Lin Muyu's sword landed on the barrier with a dang sound, but it did not cut through it. It only slashed a crack on the barrier. Instead, the Black Dragon King suddenly opened his huge mouth and bit in front of Lin Muyu. Clang! The dragon spirit sword blocked the Black Dragon King's sharp teeth. In an instant, Lin Muyu's arms became numb and an invisible dragon force drilled into her body. What a strong Black Dragon King, as expected of the overlord who guarded the dragon abyss. No, she had to destroy the Black Dragon King's barrier first. Otherwise, she would not be able to attack his body at all. Lin Muyu gritted her teeth and raised the sword again. The 7 luminaries' profound energy spun rapidly and condensed on the sword's edge. The surrounding heaven and earth instantly distorted. The millions of giant dragons that were attached to the stone walls wailed, as though they were afraid of the power that Lin Muyu was using. 6 luminaries' heaven and earth calamity. The dragon spirit sword constantly spun the sky, the sea, the nebula, the forest, the mountain and other celestial bodies. The 6 luminaries' heaven and earth calamity, a heavy and ferocious attack that gathered the power of heaven and earth, fell together with Lin Muyu's sword. Boom! The explosion was deafening and the energy burst out, illuminating the dragon abyss. The impact of the airflow caused the stone walls to peel off continuously, and the sound of crashing could be heard incessantly. A temporary feeling of powerlessness came from her arms. It was the effect of the 7 luminaries' profound energies backlash. Lin Muyu raised her head and saw that the barrier in front of the Black Dragon King had already been smashed by the 6 luminaries' heaven and earth calamity. It was a good opportunity. Without thinking, she immediately activated the 3rd style of the star arts, 5 mountains descend from the heavens. But at this moment, the Black Dragon King actually took the initiative to attack. He opened his mouth and a mouthful of high-temperature dragon flame. Golden gourd, absorb. Lin Muyu roared and the gourd came out of her body. She activated the 8th level skill, absorb. The mouth of the gourd opened wide and frantically absorbed the damage of the Black Dragon King's dragon flame. And Lin Muyu took the opportunity to slash the opponent's head with the 5 mountains descend from the heavens. Bang! Dragon scales flew and shattered. Dragon blood splattered everywhere. But this sword did not cut through the dragon's bones. The Black Dragon King's head produced a very strong invisible rebound force. Roar! With its head attacked, the Black Dragon King became even more ferocious. It turned its head and bit at close range. There was no way that Lin Muyu could dodge it. Her left arm was instantly bitten. She quickly exerted force, true dragon arm. A golden shield appeared on her left arm, and Lin Muyu ignored the backlash from her body. She reached out and grabbed the dragon's tongue and tore it with all her might. A faint cracking sound could be heard. At the same time, her arm was in a terrible condition under the dragon's sharp teeth. The red crystal scales shattered, and she felt a sharp pain. Her entire arm was almost bitten off. Fight! Lin Muyu let out an angry roar and gathered all the Xian Qi in her body on the true dragon arm on her left hand. Starlight gathered rapidly and the dragon abyss blossomed with a dazzling radiance. True Dragon Arm 7 Glorious Stars Transformation. 3 types of power were activated at the same time, and it was aimed at the weakness that the Black Dragon King had mentioned. On the stone wall, Chu Chu's eyes were wide open. He could not help but exclaim in admiration, "Good lad, where did you learn such a mysterious martial art?" Chapter 380. Boom! The 7 glorious stars transformed into tens of thousands of starlight that exploded in the dragon's mouth. The resplendent starlight pierced through the Black Dragon King's body, riddling his huge body with thousands of holes. The starlight did not stop there. The stars smashed into the stone wall behind the Black Dragon King, and like the destructive power of Doomsday, the stone wall was smashed into smithereens. The giant dragons that could not dodge in time howled miserably as they were smashed into pieces by the 7 glorious stars. Roar roar, the Black Dragon King's roar turned into a wail. One of his tongues was almost smashed by Lin Muyu's 7 glorious stars transformation. Taking advantage of the fact that the 7th glorious star's backlash had not fully taken effect, Lin Muyu suddenly raised her long sword and once again used the 5 Great Mountains technique on the Black Dragon King's head. Crack! This time, the Black Dragon King's skull was broken and he died immediately. Then, Lin Muyu cut open his skull 3 times in a row and took out the spirit stones. The Black Dragon King's body suddenly fell into the boundless stars below. Throwing the warm spirit stones into the Qianquan pouch, Lin Muyu felt an irresistible sense of exhaustion in her body. Knowing that she would soon lose the power to fly, Lin Muyu immediately turned around and rushed towards Chu Chu. She raised her long sword and broke the iron shackles that imprisoned Chu Chu. She pulled out the long spear that sealed his qi, only to see a sacred whirlwind being absorbed into his qi. It seemed that Chu Chu had a way to prevent the power of his qi from leaking out. Phew! Exhaling a turbid breath, Chu Chu looked at Lin Muyu, who was holding onto the vines with relief. He smiled and said, "Is this true? You actually found this plane?" "Of course it's true." Lin Muyu was physically weak. She said, "It wasn't easy for me to find out that Chu was forced into the Tower of Babel. So, I found Blood Lord's whereabouts. This time, Blood Lord did not lie to me. How are you? Are you okay?" Chu Chu quickly recovered his do qi and stamina as he asked with concern. "I'm fine. The backlash from the 7 glorious stars transformation is too strong." 7 glorious stars transformation? Chu Chu was stunned. He squinted his eyes and said, "As far as I know, this is the ultimate technique of the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor, right? How did you learn the 7 glorious stars transformation?" "It's a long story. Coincidentally, the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor became my friend and taught me the entire set of 7 luminaries profound energy. However, my soul wasn't strong enough to fully control the 7 luminaries, so every time I used it, I would suffer a backlash from my body and spirit." "I see." Chu Chu pondered for a moment as a trace of sadness flashed across his face. He said, "I've been locked in this dimension for 3 years. In these 3 years, how many things have happened in the Empire?" Lin Muyu was startled and murmured, "It's a long story." "Tell me, it's okay. Big brother Chu Huayin, big brother Qin Yan, and grandpa Lei Hong have all died in battle. The Iha kingdom conquered Lanyan city. And then..." Chu Chu's face was full of pain. Lin Muyu said, "We found the corpse of Emperor Father Qin Jin at the fairy lake in Tianshu province. He was buried on the spot. After the Iha kingdom conquered Lanyan city, the 7 Seas city and Muyu city finally sent their troops. More than 300,000 elite soldiers forced the Iha kingdom's army to retreat and reclaimed the imperial capital. Xiao Yin ascended to the throne and became the empress. After that, I was ordered to follow Marquis Min Yulan to reclaim Lingdong province. However, we encountered the invasion of the demon race in Lingdong province. The 100,000 Yangwei army was completely destroyed and the Marquis also died in battle." "The demon race?" Chu Chu frowned and said, "What demon race?" "It's the race that the assassin I met on the Rice River on my way to Yunzhong province belongs to. They can use the demon battle chi cyclone, blood demon breath, and master demon force. The high-level demon race is very strong. The main force of the demon race is a species called the armor demon. Their body has a shell that can't be penetrated by swords. They are extremely strong, so we suffered a great loss in the battle against the demon race. Those demon race are the legendary original masters of the continent tens of thousands of years ago? Logically speaking, yes. They call themselves the God race." Chu Chu sighed and said, "The chaos of the Iha kingdom has already caused the empire to fall apart. Now that the demon race has reappeared, the continent is even more chaotic. How are you doing?" "Not too bad." Lin Muyu smiled slightly. Big brother Feng, big sister Chu Yao, Xiao Shi, and Xiao Yin all survived this turmoil. This is the most comforting thing. Now that the demon race is very strong, we really need you, Grandpa Chu Chu." Chu Chu also smiled, "I also want to go home, but I don't know how to transmigrate back. Do you have the ability to do so? I do. Lin Muyu said in a deep voice, before the 7 luminaries demon emperor ascended to heaven realm, he taught me the plane-piercing secret technique, so we can go back. But can Grandpa's body withstand the impact of the time quicksand? No problem. Chu Chu said lightly, do you think I've been wasting my time in the Chaos Realm for the past 3 years? How is that possible? I've been spending time with the Black Dragon King and many other giant dragons. These 3 years, I've been researching dragon power and dragon language. I've already created a set of martial arts from the dragon race's bloodline, called the dragon slaying art. But with my bloodline, I can't use the dragon slaying art to its full potential. So I plan to pass it on to Her Highness Qin Yin, who has the bloodline of a true dragon. Lin Muyu was secretly happy. This is a good thing. You're the princess's grand tutor, this is part of your duty. Chu Chu nodded, then take a good rest and recover your strength and battle energy. After that, we'll leave the Chaos Realm. No. Lin Muyu's eyes turned cold. I've entered the palace in the Chaos Realm and met that so-called Saint Emperor. He made you suffer so much, how can I let him go? What do you want to do? Chu Chu was stunned. Lin Muyu clenched her fists and said lightly, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. I want him to pay back double for what he did to grandfather. Before I leave the Chaos Realm, I want to get rid of this Saint Emperor, the scum of the Chaos Realm. Chu Chu couldn't help but laugh. Although you've stepped into the Saint Realm and have the secret technique of the 7 luminaries demon emperor, the Saint Emperor isn't someone to be trifled with. Are you confident that you can defeat him? No, but I can challenge him. Besides, I have grandfather's help. Haha, how do you know that my strength can defeat the Saint Emperor? I can sense it. Lin Muyu smiled mysteriously. Chu Chu also couldn't help but laugh. At this moment, he released all the strength in his body without holding back. His powerful aura turned into a suppressive force that descended upon the entire dragon abyss, causing all the dragons to tremble uncontrollably and submit. Chu Chu's body was surrounded by rays of golden light, making him look like a god. This power was something that Lin Muyu couldn't contend against at the moment. This. What kind of power is this? Lin Muyu asked in shock. This is called the Saint Realm. Chu Chu said lightly, the power of a Saint Realm 3rd heaven. Grandfather Chu Chu has reached the Saint Realm? Lin Muyu was overjoyed. That is to say, Grandfather Chu Chu will step into the Immortal Realm soon? The Immortal Realm is very far away. I don't know when I will be able to compete with it, but I have never slacked off for a single moment in the past 3 years. Staying with the Dragon Clan and cultivating my state of mind in the Dragon Abyss, I have made great progress and stepped into the Saint Realm in one go. Chu Chu sighed and said with a smile, misfortune is a blessing in disguise, and misfortune lurks within misfortune. Who can understand all the wonders of this world? Lin Muyu clenched her fists confidently and said with a smile, Brother Feng and I have stepped into the Saint Realm, and with the strength of Chu 3rd heaven of the Saint Realm, even if Luolan comes to Lanyan City again, we won't have to be afraid, right? Yes. Chu Chu nodded heavily and said, I am old, and I will contribute as much as I can to the empire. You and Feng Jixing, on the other hand, have to cultivate hard. The future of the empire is still in the hands of the two of you. Yes, grandfather, are you hungry? Eat something? Yes, yes. Here, this is the roast chicken I brought from Lanyan City. Ah. Grandfather, eat slowly. This is wine, the Yinhua wine. I secretly brought it from Zhe Tian Palace. It's delicious, the taste of home. Chu Chu was almost moved to tears again. Lin Muyu looked at him silently, but in her heart, she thought to herself, it's just a piece of meat and a glass of wine. After an unknown number of days, Chu Chu and Lin Muyu hid in the Dragon Abyss, concentrating on cultivating and recovering. While Chu Chu's strength was already at its peak, Lin Muyu's strength was increasing rapidly. The damage caused by the backlash from the Seven Glorious Stars transformation was gradually recovering, and her physical strength and battle chi had been raised to the peak. "I've recovered." In the darkness, Lin Muyu smiled slightly. "Yes." Chu Chu nodded and said, "The Saint Emperor has accumulated power in the chaotic realm for too long, and he has left behind many treasures and riches in the palace. If we can kill the Saint Emperor, we can rob his treasures and bring them back to the Empire. It can be considered as a contribution to the Empire." "Yes, that's what I was thinking." Lin Muyu raised her head to look at the dragon abyss and felt the presence of many experts entrenched there. She couldn't help but frown and say, "Chu Chu, I've been in the dragon abyss for at least 3 days. I think the Saint Emperor has already discovered that the situation isn't good. There are many people surrounding the top. When we get out, we must attack first." Chu Chu smiled and said, "Yes, the spirit lords, demon lords, and martial lords that the Saint Emperor subdued are all vicious people. Their deaths are not to be regretted, so there's no need to show mercy. Getting rid of them might be a good thing for the chaotic realm." Lin Muyu said, "Then, let's get ready to move." "How do we get up there?" Chu Chu asked. "Fly up." Lin Muyu's eyes darkened as she called out softly, "Little Apple, armor form." "Awoo!" In the EC, a Catasaurus let out an angry roar and quickly flew out of the plane. It turned into rays of blood-red light that gathered around Lin Muyu and quickly entered armor form. A pair of red crystal wings spread open behind its back, and for a moment, all the giant dragons in the dragon abyss trembled in submission. Lin Muyu didn't have the mood to kill these dragons. She reached out and hugged Chu Chu, then jumped up and spread her wings to fly towards the dragon abyss. Chapter 381. Pung. Under the radiance of the dragon spirit sword, the iron plate of the dragon abyss tribe was smashed into pieces, and the countless green vines that were entrenched on the side were turned into juice, splashing everywhere. The aura was so powerful that the guards on the side were forced to retreat. In the next moment, Lin Muyu had already rushed out of the dragon abyss with Chu Chu. His face was full of anger as he looked at the surrounding people. "Lin Ji, you traitor!" Not far away, the Saint Emperor roared with a face full of killing intent, "This Emperor appreciates you so much, bestowed you the title of Spiritual Venerable, and even betrothed the 4th princess to you. Yet, you don't know what's good for you, and instead entered the dragon abyss to collude with that treacherous traitor, Chu Chu. Men, seize them for me, I want to cook these 2 people in a pot of oil." In the surroundings, 3 spiritual venerables, 27 demon venerables, and many martial venerables all pulled out their weapons, their faces full of murderous intent. Chu Chu landed on the ground. Although his clothes were torn and rotten, his aura of an expert was not angry. He lightly stroked his beard and said, "You, Grandpa will look at you. If you can't win, I will help you." "Good." Lin Muyu's sword trembled as he looked at the group of spiritual venerables and demon venerables rushing towards him. Just as their weapons were a few meters away from him, his mental energy suddenly exploded, and an invisible domain pressure descended on the surroundings. The god-binding chains and the golden gourd on his body shone brightly, immobilizing the group of spiritual venerables and demon venerables. "Die!" He abruptly raised his iron fist, the power of the ghost god swirled around his fist, and blasted it out brazenly. 4 luminaries demon cry. Pung! Blood vaporized, and the bodies of a spiritual venerable and 5 demon venerables were immediately turned into a pile of blood and minced meat. Lin Muyu suddenly threw out his sword, and with a poochie sound, it pierced through the neck of a spiritual venerable. With a light flick of his finger, he used the power of the fire sword to change the trajectory of the long sword, and went straight for the chests of the other 3 demon venerables. Ah ah ah, miserable howls rang out incessantly. In the blink of an eye, another 3 people had lost their lives. How was this a battle? It was completely a massacre. A demon lord's face was pale, and the spear in his hand was still trembling. He slowly retreated and murmured, "Impossible. Impossible. How could Lin Ji be so strong? A bunch of trash." The Saint Emperor roared in anger, abruptly releasing his aura. Another Saint Realm. Pulling out the guard sword, the Sage Emperor roared and slashed at Lin Muyu. Clang! Lin Muyu directly used the wall of the gourd to block. Sparks flew from the dragon armor, and she felt a sharp pain in her body. The Saint Emperor's attack was indeed extraordinary. In the blink of an eye, the Saint Emperor had struck out more than 10 times with his sword, forcibly breaking the wall of the gourd. His face was filled with malevolence as he roared, "Lin Ji, die." Voila! All of a sudden, a golden gourd vine erupted from the ground before binding around the Saint Emperor's feet. Lin Muyu unleashed her falling star steps, but the blade of her sword was blocked with a loud clang. However, a dazzling ribbon of stars materialized in her left hand, and it was none other than the second technique of her star mantra, Astral Chain. The Saint Emperor was completely immobilized, and Lin Muyu abruptly pierced through his suit of battle armor, leaving a gaping wound on his chest. Bastard! In his fury, the Saint Emperor's aura soared, and scorching battle light surged around his body in a frenzy, materializing the same holy heaven realm light as Chu Chu's. He instantly broke free of the astral chain and the gourd vine before unleashing a palm strike onto Lin Muyu's chest. Bam! Lin Muyu was sent flying back with blood gushing from her mouth. Never would she have thought that the Saint Emperor would also be a Saint Realm 3rd-level powerful being. Thankfully, the Saint Emperor didn't cultivate a martial soul. Otherwise, he would have been able to kill her with a palm that was enhanced by his martial soul. "Allow me, you." Chu Chu abruptly leaped forward and arrived in front of Lin Muyu. He raised his palm, and the fire cauldron whistled forth to form a massive barrier. Bam! The Saint Emperor's ferocious palm strike struck the fire cauldron, and boundless fiery energy erupted forth, incinerating even the nearby guards to death. However, his palm was unable to do anything to Chu Chu's fire cauldron. How could this be? The Saint Emperor's eyes were filled with astonishment. A faint smile appeared on Chu Chu's face. "Do you think I'm still the same as I was 3 years ago? If it weren't for the fact that I had to invent my own dragon-slaying mantra, I would have exited the dragon abyss long ago to kill you." As he spoke, Chu Chu unleashed a nonchalant palm strike, and scorching flames surged into the heavens. Arg! The Saint Emperor didn't even have the strength to fight back. His body was locked down by Chu Chu's Saint Realm aura, and he couldn't move at all. Just like that, he was turned into a pile of ashes in the flames. Both of them were at the Saint Realm 3rd heaven, but the difference in their combat power was like heaven and earth. Lin Muyu retracted the armor's effect and let Acatosaurus return to the alternate dimension. She raised her long sword and looked at the crowd. "The Saint Emperor is dead. There's no need for you to follow anyone anymore. Disperse." The crowd was dumbfounded. All the spiritual venerables had been killed, and half of the demon venerables were dead. The palace in the chaotic realm was now without a leader. Lord Lin Ji. A demon venerable trembled as he said, "How? How do you plan to deal with the chaotic realm?" Chu Chu had killed the Saint Emperor, and his strength was already at the top of the chaotic realm. Therefore, he was the ruler of this world. That was why the demon venerable asked such a question. Lin Muyu said, "We're just passers-by. The future of the chaotic realm has nothing to do with us." That. "Lord Demon Venerable, do you know where the Saint Emperor's treasure is? Bring us there. We'll leave after we get the treasure." "Yes. Lord." The Demon Venerable turned around and brought Lin Muyu and Chu Chu into the depths of the palace. Chu Chu frowned. Then, he ordered the group of palace maids to disperse and let them go home. In the depths of the palace, the Saint Emperor's chamber was filled with jewels and treasures. Piles of jewels were piled up like a mountain. There were also some weapons. Chu Chu found a space bag and started to store the jewels. Lin Muyu came to a pile of weapons. The Saint Emperor's eyesight was not bad. He had stored a lot of god weapons. The best spear was actually a saint tool. It was made from the 10,000 years fire flood dragon. It was similar to Qin Yan's fire serpent spear. Therefore, she kept it in the Cosmos bag. Qin Yan was one of the deputy commanders of the Longdan army camp. His strength and prestige were among the best in the army. He was worthy of this spear. The two of them kept the jewels from dawn to dusk. They used a total of 4 space bags and emptied the Saint Emperor's treasures. After exiting the cellar, there was no one left in the palace. All the guards, palace maids, and concubines had already left. Only a few crying princesses were looking at Lin Muyu with red eyes. The 4th princess had an aggrieved look. She cried and said, "Spirit Venerable Lin Ji, since I am your woman, you have to bring me away. I cannot stay here." Chu Chu couldn't help but laugh. You are quite lucky with women." Lin Muyu was extremely embarrassed. "Chu, don't joke with me. I haven't even touched a single strand of her hair. She is also not my woman. Moreover, she is not worthy." Chu Chu nodded and said, "That's right. Princess Shi and Her Highness Yin are all above her in terms of looks." "I'm not talking about this." Lin Muyu was a little speechless. "All right, it's about time. Let's hurry back." After storing the space bag properly, Lin Muyu once again summoned a Catasaurus to transform into armor. He spread his wings and flew into the sky with Chu Chu. They directly arrived at the 2nd level of the chaotic realm. Then, he flew directly to the 1st level and killed a few chaos worms on the way. He threw the corpses down to the lower realm as gifts for Devon and the rest. He also conveniently kept the spirit stones. Spirit stones were good stuff. Whether it was to sell them for money or to forge weapons, they were good. The empire had just been rebuilt and there was a shortage of money everywhere. Lin Muyu's Longdan army camp now had 20,000 soldiers again. The demand for weapons and equipment was getting higher and higher. Naturally, they needed money even more. Therefore, he had no intention of taking out the treasures that he kept in his Cosmos bag. If he contributed them to the national treasury, they would become the wealth of the 2 Grand Dukes. If he kept them in his hands, he could sell these treasures and upgrade the equipment of the Longdan army camp by another level. Why not? However, Chu Chu was an honest person. He would definitely give the treasures in his 3 space bags to Qin Yin. Strolling in the barren space of the 1st level of the chaotic realm, Lin Muyu tried her best to find the direction where she came in. She said to Chu Chu, "Chu, after you return to the empire, don't reject whatever rewards Xiao Yin gives you. It's best if she can give you some official titles with real power. This way, you can share some of the pressure with Xiao Yin." "Share the pressure? What do you mean?" Chu Chu was stunned. Lin Muyu said, "Chu, you're focused on cultivation and don't care about the affairs of the world, so you don't know. The reason why Lanyan City was breached was because the 2 Grand Dukes, Tang Lan and Su Muyun, didn't move their troops. They watched as the imperial capital was destroyed with 400,000 troops in their hands. They only led their troops out after the empire was destroyed and overthrew Xiao Yin's imperial power in one fell swoop. Therefore, the real people in power in the empire are the 2 Grand Dukes, not Xiao Yin. I don't want this situation to continue. So, after you return to Lanyan City, you must help Xiao Yin more. It can't be, right?" Chu Chu frowned and said, "Tang Lan and Su Muyun are my old acquaintances. Why would they do such a rebellious thing? You'll know after you return to Lanyan City." Lin Muyu touched her nose and smiled. The 2 Grand Dukes are afraid that Xiao Yin will have more military power in her hands. If it wasn't for the invasion of the devil race, I'm afraid that my Longdan army camp wouldn't even have the power to expand. I see. I understand. Chu Chu said faintly, don't worry, you. Chu Chu is highly regarded by the late Empress and will definitely assist Her Highness. If Tang Lan and Su Muyun really have the intention to rebel, Chu Chu will be the first to not let them off. Yes, it's great that Grandpa Chu Chu has returned to the Empire. I don't have to worry about Xiao Yin's safety anymore. I can also focus on fighting and recovering her lost territories. Yes. At this time, Lin Muyu had already arrived at the place to enter the Chaos Realm. Her eyes turned cold as she said, we're here. Prepare to penetrate the plane. Grandpa Chu Chu, just rush in with me later. Okay. Bending her body slightly, the golden divine power swirled in her palm. Lin Muyu let out a roar and activated her spiritual sense to attack. Suddenly, a space crack with a radius of 1 meter appeared 8 meters in front of her. She used her spiritual sense to check it out. Through the bloody cyclone, she could see the Blood Lord and his subordinates guarding the floor of the Tong Tian Tower. It's here. Chapter 382. Swoosh swoosh. Two figures shrouded in golden light shuttled out of the plane and landed on the first floor of the Tower of Babel. Before Chu Chu landed, he had already opened up the territory of the Holy Heaven State. His entire body was wrapped in a cold cyclone, and his powerful aura stunned the Blood Lord and the others on the Tower of Babel. Unknowingly, the Blood Lord and his battle bear made a gesture of submission. Lin Muyu followed closely behind. The dragon-armored wings behind her quickly dispersed, and she landed on the stone tower. She smiled and said, Blood Lord, I've invited Chu back. The Blood Lord's face was full of awe. He said respectfully, I didn't expect Lord Chu Chu to have entered the Holy Heaven State. Chu Chu cupped his fists and smiled, Greetings, Blood Lord. Thank you, Blood Lord, for making an exception and letting Ayu enter the strange space to find this dying old man. Thank you, Blood Lord. Lord Chu Chu, you're too polite. The Blood Lord's expression didn't look good. He said, I don't have much to entertain here, so I won't keep you for the night, it was already nighttime. Lin Muyu nodded and smiled. Chu, let's go back to Lanyan City. The two of them walked down the stairs of the tower. The moment they opened the metal door, a few Imperial guards ran over from afar. One of them was the centurion that Lin Muyu had entrusted her with. His face was filled with surprise as he said, Commander Yu, you're back? This is? Chu Chu slowly lifted his tattered cloak and revealed an old face. He said, General, you don't know me. No. I know you. The centurion quickly knelt down on one knee and said respectfully, Greetings, Lord Chu Chu. Behind him, a group of Imperial guards knelt down one after another. Chu Chu's reputation in the Empire wasn't below that of the two dukes. In the eyes of cultivators, he was far above the two dukes. He deserved such respect. Oh, how do you know someone like me who has left for 3 years? Chu Chu was stunned. The centurion smiled. Chu must have forgotten that there is a portrait of you in the Zetian Palace Hall. I have seen it before. I see. Get up, there's no need to stand on ceremony. Yes, my lord. Lin Muyu said, Bring my treading snow here and give Chu a horse to escort us back to Zetian Hall. Yes, Commander Rain. They didn't encounter any obstacles on their way into the city, and the highest commander of the royal guards on duty that night was Zhang Wei. When he saw Lin Muyu and Chu Chu on the city wall, he jumped down and laughed, Commander Yu. Lord Chu Chu. Oh my God, you're back. Lin Muyu nodded and smiled. Old Zhang, take us to see Her Highness. It's already so late, I'm afraid Her Highness is already asleep. Don't worry, this is good news. Xiao Yin won't blame us. Yes. They rushed to Zetian Palace Hall. It was late at night, and when Lin Muyu brought Chu Chu, Zhang Wei, and the rest to the outside of Zetian Palace Hall, she asked a maid to inform them. Within a few minutes, Qin Yin's graceful figure appeared in the hall. She was wearing the Empress's robe and white pajamas, but she came in a hurry. Her jade-like feet stepped on the cold jade floor and her eyes were filled with joy. Lord Chu Chu. Lord Chu Chu, you are still alive. That's great, that's great. Chu Chu smiled faintly and knelt on one knee. Wu Wei, this old subject Chu Chu greets your highness. I hope your highness will forgive me for escaping to another plane. This old subject really doesn't want to die in vain under Luolan's hands. Lord Chu Chu, you don't have to blame yourself. Qin Yin was full of joy. It's the Empire's fortune that you can return to Lanyan City. Lin Muyu smiled. Xiao Yin, there's another good news. Chu has stepped into the Saint Realm Level 3. With Brother Feng and me, even if Luolan comes to Lanyan City again, we won't lose. Yes, yes, that's great. Chu Chu took a deep breath, stood up, and said, Your Highness, Chu Chu is untalented, but I am willing to be your teacher again. Moreover, this time, Chu Chu has brought back a newly created martial art for your highness to cultivate. Qin Yin was overjoyed. Good. That's great. Lin Muyu said, Xiao Yin, send someone to Duke Lan's and Duke Yun's mansions to pass the news that Chu is back. Tomorrow, all the ministers will have a meeting in Zetian Palace Hall. You should confer a title to Chu, yes. Qin Yin blinked and said, More than 1,000 years ago, the Empire used to have the title of Minister of War. During non-war times, he had the authority to mobilize the entire nation's troops. I plan to reactivate the position of Minister of War and give it to Lord Chu Chu. Brother Yu, do you think it's appropriate? It's appropriate, but it won't be easy to get past Duke Lan and Duke Yun. So tomorrow, you, General Feng, Lord Wei Chou, Zhang Wei, and the others must help me. Yes. That night, Lin Muyu and Chu Chu stayed in Zetian Palace Hall. Moreover, Chu Chu didn't sleep the whole night. He burned the candle and wrote down all 7 levels of the Dragon Slayer art. The next morning, Feng Jixing, Wei Chou, Qin Yan, and the others came after hearing the news. They all greeted Chu Chu. Chu Chu was naturally overjoyed to see so many young generals in the Empire. Ever since Lin Muyu talked about the current situation in the Empire's court, Chu Chu unconsciously felt a sense of responsibility. As long as he became Minister of War, he could no longer be the carefree mausoleum guardian who pursued medicine refinement. He had to take up the responsibility he should. The bell reverberated. After Lin Muyu, Feng Jixing, and the others enjoyed the royal breakfast in Zetian Palace Hall, the morning meeting was about to begin. In the main hall, the officials lined up respectfully. Chu Chu stood in front of the 2 commander-level generals, Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing. His face was solemn, and he exuded an aura of power that made all the cultivators present feel reverence. This was an absolute power. Even Lin Muyu couldn't resist Chu Chu's Saint Realm pressure, not to mention others. Congratulations to Lord Chu Chu for returning to the Empire. Su Muyun cupped his fists respectfully. Chu Chu nodded and smiled. I, Chu Chu, was chased to another plane. I'm really ashamed. On the other hand, Duke Yun, the 3 armies of Sunset Rain City recovered the Empire's lost land. It's admirable. Lord Chu Chu overpraises me. Tang Lan also walked over with Tang Lu, Tang Tian, and Tang Wei. He cupped his fists respectfully and said, Old General Tang Lan greets Chu Chu. Chu Chu's return to the Empire is the Empire's fortune. Among the white-robed imperial guards bestowed titles by the former emperor, only Lord Chu, Feng Jixing, and Lord Yao Yuan are still alive. Chu Chu nodded calmly and said, Duke Lan is the pillar of the empire, and his granddaughter, Princess Shi, led the demonic beasts and achieved the empire's #1 military merit. Congratulations. I hope that Duke Lan's family is loyal and will continue to serve the empire. Of course. Tang Lan smiled faintly, but there was no change in his expression. At this time, Qin Yin entered the main hall under the escort of a few maids. Her beautiful eyes swept over the officials and she said with a smile, I invited everyone to Zhe Tian Palace Hall so early today for one thing. Lord Chu Chu has returned. Everyone said, Congratulations, Your Highness, on obtaining another right-hand man. Qin Yin smiled faintly and said, Lord Chu Chu is a white-robed imperial guard bestowed by my imperial father, the princess's grand tutor, and is also my teacher. Furthermore, he is the empire's right-hand man. This time, Lord Chu Chu's cultivation has improved and he will definitely be given an important position. Therefore, I have decided to restore the empire's great minister of war, from over 1,000 years ago and bestow Lord Chu Chu with the title of Great Minister of War. This, the Ministry of War's Minister Xue Ling was stunned. Tang Lu, who was beside him, kept signaling him with his eyes, so he cupped his fists and said, Your Highness, the position of Great Minister of War has been abandoned since 1,000 years ago. I hope Your Highness will consider it carefully. Moreover, the Great Minister of War is in charge of all the Empire's troops. Although Lord Chu Chu is a person of virtue and prestige, he is a cultivator after all and has never led troops directly. Therefore, Your Highness, please reconsider. The officials behind Tang Lan all knelt down and said, Your Highness, please reconsider. You all, Qin Yin held back her anger, but her little face was filled with unhappiness. At this moment, Lin Muyu stepped out and cupped her fists and said with a clear voice, Your Highness, the Great Minister of War is only a title. He is in charge of all the troops in the empire, but it doesn't mean that he can lead troops directly into battle. Chu Chu's prestige is enough to take on the position of Great Minister of War, and there are generals like Feng Jixing and Xiang Yu who can lead troops into battle. Therefore, I don't think there's anything inappropriate about it. Lord Chu Chu is worthy of this position. As he spoke, he pressed his palm down lightly. Immediately, Zhang Wei, Wei Chou, Luo Yu, Qin Yan, Feng Shi, and the other generals behind him all knelt down and cupped their fists and said, I second Commander Yu's suggestion. I hope Your Highness will bestow Lord Chu Chu with the position of Great Minister of War. Feng Jixing couldn't help but snicker in his heart. He cupped his fists and said, I second the suggestion. Lord Chu Chu is worthy of this position. At this moment, almost all eyes were on the Su clan. Whichever side Su Muyun supported, that side would be completely one-sided. At this moment, Su Muyun furrowed his brows and remained silent. In the end, Su Er cupped his fists and said, This lowly general believes that Sir Chu Chu is worthy of this position. Your Majesty, please do not hesitate, this is a matter of life and death for the Empire. With Sir Chu Chu as the Great Minister, he will be able to gather the hearts of the people, motivate the soldiers of the three armies, and make all of the cultivators within the Empire work for us. Since his daughter had already said so, Su Muyun naturally did not say anything more. He cupped his fists and said, This old subject agrees with Commander Yu. Immediately, at least 20 generals and ministers of the Su clan behind Su Muyun knelt down and said in unison, We agree with Commander Yu. Thank you, grandfather. The corners of Qin Yin's mouth curled up, and she smiled very sweetly. She said, Someone, draft an imperial edict immediately and confer Sir Chu Chu the title of Empress's Grand Tutor, Minister of War, and receive the salary of a duke. Also, build a residence for the Minister of War in the South Hall of Zhe Tian Palace. Sir Chu Chu can stay in Zhe Tian Palace from now on. Yes, Your Majesty. The minister cupped his fists respectfully. At this moment, Lin Muyu finally heaved a sigh of relief. Chu Chu had returned and obtained the title of Great Minister of War. As long as the great Minister of War's token was carved, he would be able to command all the soldiers within the empire. Although the situation of the two dukes in the empire would not change in a short period of time, at least it had begun to be shaken. You've stepped into the Saint Domain? Feng Jixing suddenly asked. You saw through me. Lin Muyu chuckled. Humph, Tingyu Tower will treat me to a drink tonight. Alright, I'll go over after I'm done with the matters of the Divine Temple. Don't be late. I'm never late for a drink. Chapter 383. In the afternoon, Qin Yin went to arrange for Chu Chu's residence. As the Empress's tutor, Chu Chu lived in Zhe Tian Palace Hall. Furthermore, he could protect Qin Yin. Lin Muyu returned to the Holy Temple and was stunned by the pile of files in the Great Deacon's office. What's wrong, Great Deacon? Guiyang asked with a smile. Lin Muyu felt her scalp go numb and said, Grandfather Guiyang, the Holy Temple should hire a few civil officials. Many of these files don't need me to go through them personally. It's a waste of my time. Guiyang stroked his beard and laughed, I understand. I will let Deacon Jing pick some qualified civil officials later. However, most of the people in the Holy Temple are warriors and not many of them are literate. There will be some. Yes. Lin Muyu calmed herself down and sat down. She flipped through the files one by one. It was still about the selection of personnel from the various holy temples and the allocation of funds. It was very tedious and boring compared to cultivation. Fortunately, Lin Muyu could silently cultivate the remnant scroll of the forging dragon bone so that she wouldn't waste so much time. Before dusk, the guard outside suddenly said respectfully, Great Deacon, the commander of the Imperial Guards, Feng Jixing, requests an audience. Oh, let him in. Yes. Feng Jixing entered the office and sat on the corner of the Great Deacon's desk. He laughed, Oh, Great Deacon, are you going through the memorials again? They are only files. Only the emperors are called memorials. Lin Muyu looked up at him and laughed, Didn't we agree to have a drink tonight? Why are you here so early, Brother Feng? Huh. Feng Jixing laughed heartily, Before we drink, I want to bring you to a place. Where? Ministry of Works, Weapons Department. Oh. Weapons Department? Yes, let's go. Put down your files. The treasures there are much more powerful than these. Okay. After exiting the sacred hall, Lin Muyu mounted a horse and rode on Takshu. She and Feng Jixing galloped towards the Ministry of Works of the Empire. Neither of them brought any guards with them. There was no need at all. Who would dare to target them? The warhorses were very fast. After entering the Ministry of Works, there were all sorts of supervision of craftsmanship along the way. When Feng Jixing brought Lin Muyu into the depths of the Ministry of Works, they finally saw a very dignified building in the distance. It was heavily guarded, with at least 200 guards surrounding it. It seemed that there was indeed a secret hidden here. Do you still remember Qin Xiling? Feng Jixing asked. I remember. What happened to Xiling? Without your permission, I directly asked for this person on behalf of the Minister of Works, Ouyang He. Qin Xiling's beast-hunting repeating crossbows are of excellent quality, so the skilled craftsmen of the Ministry of Works modified them according to his blueprints. You'll see it soon. Okay. The two of them arrived at the main entrance of the weapons department. Immediately, the guards cupped their fists respectfully. General Feng, Commander Yu. Feng Jixing nodded. Bring us in. Commander Yu and I want to see the power of the arrow box. Yes. A centurion respectfully brought the two of them into the weapons department. Not long after, an official in a civilian uniform came forward. He was about 50 years old, but his face was pale and wrinkled. He cupped his fists and smiled. Ouyang he greets General Feng and Commander Yu. Feng Jixing smiled. Master Ouyang, you don't have to be so polite. I brought Commander Yu to see our new weapon. Yes, Commander Yu, this way please. Lin Muyu was confused. What exactly was this arrow box? Was it a new weapon that could fire continuously, similar to a repeating crossbow? If it was, she had already seen it before. It was just that she didn't know how to make it and didn't understand the principles behind it. Ouyang he brought the two of them to the shooting range of the weapons department. Not far away, a group of people dressed in Ministry of Work civilian uniforms were fiddling with a black box. The box was filled with holes from the arrowheads. It was indeed the legendary arrow box. One of these civilian officials was Qin Xiling. When he saw Lin Muyu, he quickly stood up and said respectfully, "Xiling greets head deacon." Lin Muyu saw at a glance that Qin Xiling's rank had been promoted to Chili Arch. Being in the weapons department, it seemed that he had also been incorporated into the Imperial Army. She nodded and smiled. Xiling doesn't need to be so polite. Qin Xiling said with some shame. Xiling joined the weapons department without the great manager's permission. I'm really sorry, great manager. Please forgive me. Lin Muyu couldn't help but laugh. She patted Qin Xiling's shoulder and said, "Silly boy, don't say such silly things. I can't be more than happy for you to have your talents in the weapons department." Great manager is really happy for Xiling? Yes, show me the weapons you've developed. Yes. Qin Xiling gave the order. Two soldiers slowly moved the arrow box and aimed at a target in the distance. This target was very far away, about 200 meters away. This was the upper limit of the bow's range. Moreover, the target was made of a very thick piece of wood. It seemed to be half a meter thick. Lin Muyu frowned as her eyes fell on the arrows in the box. Ouyang he smiled faintly and took an arrow from the table. The arrow head was covered in a fiery glow. He smiled and said, "This arrow is specially made. It has been tempered with a fire poison. This fire poison is the venom of the southern sky bamboo and continental grass. It can kill the target on contact with blood. Even the powerful vitality of the armor demons can't resist this poison." Lin Muyu was surprised. She asked, "Have you tested this poison on the armor demons?" "Yes." Ouyang he nodded. Fortunately, Commander Yu brought back a few living armor demons from the Rice River camp. That's why we were able to test it. Unfortunately, these armor demons didn't have a cure and died. Hey! Okay, get ready to shoot. Yes. A soldier pulled the wrench and suddenly pulled it. Suddenly, the sound of a spring twisting came from the arrow box. It was followed by a series of so sounds. Nearly 40 arrows were shot out in an instant. The target in the distance was like a wall. Countless arrows drilled into the wall. The power of the arrows was amazing. The target was shaken and dust flew up. "Let's go and see," Feng Jixing said. Yes. Lin Muyu stepped forward and came in front of the target. She gently pulled out an arrow. This arrow was made of steel. The arrowhead was very sharp. It directly pierced 20 centimeters deep into the wooden target. Ouyang he said with a proud smile, "The best archer in the Empire's army can only do this much." Not necessarily. Lin Muyu had seen Wei Chao's archery. From 200 meters away, Wei Chao would definitely be able to penetrate this kind of target. He gently raised his hand and pulled out the dragon spirit sword. After thinking for a while, he silently circulated his qi and slashed out. Suddenly, the blade of the sword was surrounded by a swirling qi. With a bang sound, a 40-centimeter hole was made on the wooden target. "Commander Yu, what are you doing?" Ouyang he looked surprised. Lin Muyu said, "I've fought with armor demons face to face. So I know the hardness and toughness of their shells. That's about the strength needed to split open the hard shell of an armor demon. So, Master Ouyang, unless your arrow box can penetrate 40 centimeters deep into the target, you won't be able to penetrate the shell of an armor demon, let alone poison it to death. Ouyang he frowned, this is going to be difficult. At this time, Qin Xiling said from behind, Master Ouyang, give me some time. This subordinate is confident that he can continue to improve the arrow box and make it meet Commander Yu's requirements. Moreover, there is still room for improvement in our arrow forging. As long as we hire a good enough craftsman, I believe we can penetrate the hard shell of an armor demon. Ouyang he said with joy, can Xiling really do it? This subordinate will do his best. Qin Xiling said sincerely. Lin Muyu also smiled and said, if Xiling can really improve the arrow box and make it a sharp weapon to kill armor demons, then I will recommend you to Her Highness Qin Yin as the head of the weapons department. Qin Xiling said with joy, thank you, Commander Yu. Xiling will do his best. At this time, Ouyang he said, in addition to the arrow box, we also studied the ballista and ballista. General Feng, Commander Yu, will you follow me to take a look? Okay, please lead the way, Master Ouyang. Qin Xiling went to draw the blueprints, while the Minister of Works, Ouyang he, was very excited. The weapons department had always been the department that was least favored by the major dynasties of the empire. This was because the Qin Empire had always neglected the research of weapons. The empire revered martial arts. Qin Jin had always encouraged his people to practice martial arts and archery, but he had never encouraged the research of weapons. This time, Feng Jixing and Lin Muyu, these two imperial commanders who held great power, regarded the weapons department so highly. This was enough to make Ouyang he feel extremely flattered. Naturally, he would put in even more effort in recommending new weapons. Ballista was divided into single ballista and multiple ballista. Compared to the arrow box, the single ballista had fewer shots, but the advantage was that it was light and portable, far less heavy than the arrow box. Ouyang he said proudly, this kind of ballista can penetrate 50 centimeters of wood with one arrow. If the distance is close enough, it can penetrate the body of an armor demon. However, the requirement to aim at the head is too high. Lin Muyu nodded and didn't say anything. Ouyang he then pointed to a machine that was about the height of two people and said, this is the legendary ballista. It can shoot boulders and arrows with great power. It needs more than 10 people to operate and can't be fired. Moreover, it is very heavy and not suitable for battle. Feng Jixing licked his lips and looked up with a smile, it looks quite mighty. Lin Muyu's eyes lit up and said, if this ballista is equipped with sharp stones, will it be able to shoot through the side boards of ordinary warships? Yes, it definitely can. Ouyang he said excitedly, Commander Yu, what do you mean? Just make it a little smaller and it can be equipped on the warships of the Empire's navy. Lin Muyu said complacently, the demons aren't fools. Sooner or later, they will fight to the death with us on the Dao River. Moreover, the Iha nation will fight with us sooner or later. If we don't develop water-based weapons, it will be difficult to subdue them. Ouyang he's face was flushed. I understand, but, the Jining dollars that the weapons department has applied for has been delayed. Duke Lan and Duke Yun aren't interested in developing weapons, so the file has been stuck in the front hall of Zhe Tian Palace and can't reach Her Highness. Give me the file, I will hand it directly to Her Highness. Lin Muyu smiled. Ouyang he was ecstatic. Good. Good. Thank you, Commander Yu. Feng Jixing also smiled at the side. Yu, are we still drinking tonight? Let's drink after meeting Xiao Yin. All right. Chapter 384. A dossier from the weapons department? Qin Yin looked at the scarlet scroll that Lin Muyu handed over in surprise. Yes, it's from the weapons department. There was no one else in Zetian Palace Hall, so Lin Muyu sat at Qin Yin's table and said with a smile, "Perhaps in the future, we can only rely on the weapons department's research to defeat the demons." Can we really defeat the demons? Qin Yin blinked her big beautiful eyes. Of course. Feng Jixing said from a short distance away. He was lying on the table to the right of the Empress's table and was admiring the murals in the hall. He curled his lips and said, "The paintings are really good. The figures of those young ladies are vivid and lifelike." As expected, none of these painters are good people. Qin Yin chuckled. These two commanders of the empire didn't look like commanders at all when there was no one around. They looked like two ruffians bullying the empress. But, it requires a lot of money. Qin Yin looked at the dossier carefully and said, 30 million Jin dollars. It's okay. Compared to the 500 million Jin dollars spent to build the steel wall, this is nothing. If these weapons are really developed, it can be used to build 10 steel walls. Lin Muyu said. Alright then. Qin Yin wrote her name on the dossier with a wave of her pen, stamped the Empress's seal, and handed it to Lin Muyu. In that case, brother, you will be in charge of the manufacturing. Great. By the way, Xiao Shi, Linghu Yan, and Tang Zhen will be coming to Lanyan City tonight. Brother, you and General Feng, do you want to come? Qin Yin asked. Oh. Xiao Shi is back from the demon subduing pass. What's the matter? Lin Muyu asked. Bring Linghu Yan and the 10 demon generals to swear loyalty to the empire. Really? Lin Muyu was overjoyed. Xiao Shi is really capable. She really managed to convince the demon race to be loyal to the empire. With the demon race's military strength, we will have more capital to fight against the demon race and the Iha kingdom. Yes. Qin Yi nodded slightly. We've sent many people into Winter Ridge province in disguise these days and got back a lot of information. It said that the demon marshal Qianfeng is establishing a new order in Winter Frost City. He's enslaved human craftsmen to build siege ladders, siege chariots, and other machines. Moreover, he's sent 30,000 armor demons to build a shipyard at the lower reaches of Rice River. It seems that he wants to build ships. I've long guessed that Qianfeng would do this. Lin Muyu's lips twitched. Qianfeng is both brave and intelligent. He'll always be a great threat to us. His threat is even more serious than Long Qianlin's. Feng Jixing said, the demon race is powerful. The relationship between us and the Iha kingdom is gradually changing. There were even rumors a few days ago that the Iha kingdom wants to form an alliance with us to fight against the demon race. Oh? Qin Yin frowned. What do you think if the Iha kingdom really wants to form an alliance with us? Feng Jixing clenched his fists. This general believes that we can form an alliance. But the moment we defeat the demon race will be the day we start a war with the Iha kingdom. Lin Muyu nodded. We will forever remember the blood feud between the Iha kingdom and us. If Qin Yi and Long Qianlin don't die, we will be letting down Big Brother Chu Huayin, Big Brother Qin Lei, and Grandpa Lei Hong's spirit in heaven. Yes. Qin Yin smiled. Xiao Yin knows what to do. Night, Tingyu Tower. After reopening, the Tingyu Tower's reputation was still good. However, the price of the dishes had dropped a lot. After all, after the war 3 years ago, the country's strength was not as good as before. Feng Jixing, Lin Muyu, Zhang Wei, Wei Chou, Luo Yu, and a few other important generals sat around the table and drank to their heart's content. They hadn't been so relaxed for a long time. When they were about 50 to 60% drunk, a guard from the Longdan army camp walked forward and cupped his fists. Commander Yu, Zetian Palace has sent someone to invite the generals to Zetian Palace for a discussion. They said. Princess Shi is here. Xiao Shi is here. Lin Muyu put down her wine cup and smiled. Anyway, we have eaten and drank to our fill. Let's go. Business is more important. Yes. After paying for the wine, everyone went downstairs and mounted their horses. They galloped all the way to Zetian Palace. At night, Zetian Palace was brightly lit. When Lin Muyu and the others arrived, Tang Lan, Su Muyun, and the newly promoted Minister of War, Chu Chu, were already there. Tang Xiaoxi was dressed in a red dress. She was as beautiful as a flower. She walked over with a smile. Mu, tell me, how many days has it been since we last met? I forgot. Lin Muyu said boldly. You have no conscience. Tang Xiaoxi glared at him and said, I heard that you have stepped into the Saint region? Yes. That's good. Tang Xiaoxi widened her eyes and looked deeply at his face. Although it was a happy thing to be stared at by a peerless beauty, Lin Muyu still felt goosebumps all over his body. He couldn't help but say, Xiaoxi, why are you looking at me like that? I'm not a plate of roast chicken. Tang Xiaoxi giggled and said, I was thinking that since Mu has already stepped into the Saint region, you have already obtained the ability to maintain your youthful appearance. Your appearance will always remain at this moment. A 26-year-old Saint region. Our Mu will definitely be the most handsome Saint region expert in the world. Feng Jixing coughed at the side. Princess Shi, this general is also a Saint region expert. But you are not as handsome as Mu. Tang Xiaoxi told him the truth. Feng Jixing touched his nose. To me, Feng Jixing, Princess Shi's words are like a cold blade in the 8th month of the lunar calendar. Tang Lu, who was standing at the side, couldn't bear to see Tang Xiaoxi and Lin Muyu being so intimate. He coughed and said, let's get down to business. Today is the day the demons surrender to the humans. Let's not talk about these useless things. Tang Xiaoxi frowned and said, second brother, it's an alliance, not a surrender. What's the difference? Tang Lu sneered. At this moment, the fox, snake, and lizardman generals behind Ling Hu Yen were unhappy. They stuck out their tongues and hissed at Tang Lu. Although they didn't know what they were saying, they guessed that it wasn't anything good. They were probably greeting the females in Tang Lu's family. Qin Yin, who was dressed in an empress's robe and holding the hilt of her sword, slowly walked down the steps and said, Ling Hu, shall we begin? Yes. Ling Hu Yen responded softly, and her 3 beautiful fox tails swayed gently behind her. She slowly knelt in front of Qin Yin and said respectfully, I, Ling Hu Yen, swear on my identity as the saintess of the demon race that from now on, the demon race and the human race will forever maintain an alliance and will never take the initiative to violate it. I, Ling Hu Yen, pledge allegiance to Empress Qin Yin and am willing to pay tribute every year. Every year, I will offer 5,000 superior warhorses, 10,000 antlers, 1,000 boxes of rare herbs, 2,000 rock sheep, and 3,000 cowhide. Okay. Qin Yin stepped forward, placed her palm on Ling Hu Yan's shoulder, and said with a serious expression, as the suzerain state, Lanyan City will provide 1 million kilograms of grain to the demon clan every year as a token of gratitude. Thank you, Your Highness. The alliance is established and will never be abandoned. Yes, the alliance is established and will never be abandoned. Ling Hu Yen slowly stood up with a smile on her face. Her gaze swept across the area, and the 10 demon generals immediately knelt on the ground. Without saying a word, they knelt in front of Qin Yin and placed their heads on the carpet. Tang Tian couldn't help but sneer, beasts are beasts. They are only fit to be controlled by humans. What did you say? Ling Hu Yen suddenly flared up, and her eyes were filled with anger. Several serpent people generals also pulled out their sabers, and it looked like they were about to chop Tang Tian into 2 pieces. Tang Lan hastily cupped his fists and said, these juniors are not very sensible. I hope that Saintess Ling Hu Yen will not blame them. I have failed in disciplining them, and I hereby apologize. As he spoke, Tang Lan fiercely glared at Tang Lu and Tang Tian. These two grandsons of his were indeed two good-for-nothings. Compared to Tang Xiaoxi, who was calm and unruffled, they were simply like two newborn calves. Tang Lan was also disappointed and helpless, but what could he do? Qin Yin pretended that nothing had happened. She held Linghu Yan's hand and said with a smile, "Linghu, since there is nothing serious on the demon side, stay in Lanyan City for a few more days. Let Xiaoxi show you around Lanyan City. The imperial capital is very lively." Linghu Yan chuckled. "Thank you, Your Highness. Linghu Yan understands." Good, good. Stay in Zetian Palace tonight." "Yes." At this time, Tang Xiaoxi took Lin Muyu's hand and pouted. "Mu, you all reek of alcohol. You must have gone drinking again, right?" "Humph, alcohol. No, it's just a small drink," Lin Muyu explained. Tang Xiaoxi wanted to say something else, but Tang Lan, who was not far away, looked at her deeply and said, "Xiaoxi, do you still want to stay in Zetian Palace? Do you not want to return to the Duke's mansion in Seven Seas City? That is your home." "Grandpa," Tang Xiaoxi walked in front of Tang Lan, bowed deeply, and said, "Xiaoxi, it's better for you to stay in Zetian Palace. Grandpa, you have to take good care of your body. You've aged a lot in these few years." Tang Lan revealed a pained expression and said, "That's fine. It's good that Xiaoxi keeps Her Highness company. Then, this old man will go back. Xiaoxi will see you out." Good. Tang Xiaoxi walked forward and gently held Tang Lan's wrist. Tang Lan's body trembled slightly. He came under the starlight and murmured, "If time could go back, would listen to you and immediately send troops to reinforce Lanyan City at all costs." "Grandpa." Tang Xiaoxi looked at him quietly. Tang Lan smiled. His hand was trembling as he brushed away the hair in front of Tang Xiaoxi's forehead. He said, "Grandpa, you've obtained half of the country, but you've lost the person you love the most. This business deal is too much of a loss." Tang Xiaoxi almost burst into tears. "Grandpa, there's no need to say anything more." Tang Lan smiled warmly. "Everything you've done is right. Grandpa is proud of you. Never look back and never doubt." "What about Grandpa?" "Grandpa, there's no turning back." Tang Lan mounted the horse with the help of a servant. He looked back at Tang Xiaoxi in his old and clumsy manner and said, "Xiaoxi, there's no need to see me off. Go back." Tang Xiaoxi stood in the evening breeze, her clothes fluttering in the wind. She was indescribably beautiful. She watched Tang Lan leave with an indescribable sense of loneliness. Lin Muyu came to her side at some point. She placed her hand on the hilt of her sword and said softly, "Xiaoxi, moi." Tang Xiaoxi was speechless. Chapter 385. Roar. In the middle of the night, a loud roar came from the dense forest. Then, a large number of armored demons appeared in the north of Qinling Mountains. They carried pitch-black ladders in their hands, which were used to climb giant rocks. The Iha Kingdom's soldiers were drowsy on the Qinling Mountains. They were startled by the flickering torches in the distance. A captaincy turned over and stood up. He held a steel saber and shouted, "Brothers, wake up. The demons are attacking." The Iha Kingdom's soldiers woke up one by one. They widened their eyes and looked at the sparks in the distance. They said, "What the hell is that? What are the armor demons carrying in their hands?" "Ladders. It's ladders. They actually know how to use ladders to attack. Prepare the rolling stones. We must stop them." Yes. Rolling stones fell down the mountain peak one after another. However, the armored demons had long prepared for it. Each armored demon had a new steel shield on their left arm. They raised the shields and bounced off the rolling stones one after another, causing sparks in the night. Closely after that, the armored demons placed long ladders on the dangerous peaks of Qinling mountain range against the disorderly arrows as they roared and started to launch a fierce attack. "Damn it!" the captaincy said angrily, "Archers, don't stop shooting. Heavy Shield Battalion, get ready to follow me. We must drive away all the demons. Don't let any of them climb the Qinling mountains." "Yes, General." A group of Heavy Shield Battalion soldiers raised their shields and held their steel sabers in their right hands. Under the moonlight, their faces were full of indignation, but more than that, fear. Who would not be afraid when facing the black mass of armor demons? "They're coming up." An armored demon on the ladder suddenly spread its wings and flew up, diving straight towards the Qinling mountains. "You're courting death." The captain suddenly held his blade horizontally and charged out. A Do-Chi luster surfaced on the blade. With an explosive roar, he hacked this armor demon off the mountain peak. Holding his blade horizontally, he angrily shouted, "All of you, stop. No one is allowed to slack." "Yes, General." A group of soldiers rushed forward while being greeted by more and more armor demons. Although the armor demons could only fly less than 20 m, it was enough for them to rush at dangerous peaks. In the next moment, dozens of armor demons appeared in the crowd of Heavy Shield Camp and slashed everywhere with their blunt weapons, shattering the soldiers of Heavy Shield Camp together with their shields. What a miserable sight! "Bastard!" Captaincy rushed forward angrily and chopped off the head of an armor demon. But at the same time, he felt a strong chill behind him, so he hurriedly turned around and slashed. Clang! The blade was blocked by a steel shield. Under the moonlight, an armor demon in a commander's armor was looking at him proudly. It was Lei Chong, the marshal of the 2nd Demon Corps. Lei Chong's battle hammer flew up and shattered Captaincy's long saber and arm. Lei Chong was too powerful. He stepped forward and kicked Captaincy, who was howling miserably, to the ground. At the same time, he stabbed the sharp handle of the battle hammer directly into Captaincy's mouth. With a sound of puff, the hammer penetrated through the back of his head. This brave Captaincy of the Iha country had ended his life. In the north of the Qinling Mountains, the black mass of armor demon corps invaded on a large scale. They crossed the Qinling Mountains in an unstoppable manner. The Iha country finally failed to defend the Qinling Mountains under the iron hooves of Lei Chong. "General Long, bad news, bad news." In the ground camp in the south of the Qinling Mountains, Long Qianlin was looking at the list of military supplies under the candlelight. Suddenly, a captaincy rushed in recklessly and nervously cupped his hands, saying, "General Long, Qinling Mountains have fallen. Lei Chong has led the army to cross the Qinling Mountains. Our army has suffered a heavy loss." Long Qianlin's eyes were full of indifference as he said, "I see." Captaincy was terrified. "General Long, what should we do now?" "Retreat to the south of the steel shield wall. Use the steel shield wall as a barrier to stop the demons." Do we give up the territory south of the steel shield wall? There are countless of our cities there. Oh my God! This is the order of the Commander-in-Chief. No one can disobey it. Order the 3 armies to retreat to the steel shield wall before the demons arrive. Otherwise, even God can't save us. Yes. Captaincy turned around and left. Long Qianlin looked at the swaying curtain of the big tent with a gloomy face. Suddenly, he punched the table heavily and roared, "What bullshit, General Long, am I?" 3 days later, Yu Shu arrived at Lanyan City. In Zhe Tian Hall, the officials all had a happy expression on their faces. The crushing defeat of the Iha country seemed to be a great thing for Lanyan City. After all, the heinous crimes that the Iha country had committed in Lanyan City were unforgivable. "Congratulations, Your Highness." Tang Lan cupped her fists and said, in the battle between the Iha country and the demons in the Qinling Mountains, they lost more than 100,000 men and horses. The national strength was seriously damaged. The Thunder Chong Corps of the demons also lost more than 10,000 armor demons. This is really good news for the Empire. Qin Yin stood up with a dignified expression on her beautiful face and asked, "Is there any specific information about the demons? Where is their main force? It is a good thing that the Iha country was defeated, but we can't let the demons keep getting stronger." Su'er said, "Reporting to your highness, our Yushu reported that 100,000 men from the Qianfeng Corps are hoarding in Dongshuang City, 50,000 are stationed at the border of Lingdong Province, and another 30,000 are building warships at the eastern border of Cangnan Province. They have enslaved about 200,000 people in total. In addition, close to 200,000 men from the Thunder Chong Corps are at the south of the Qinling Mountains." Su Muyun said, "If there are no accidents, with Lei Chang's cruel temperament, he will massacre every city in the south of the Qinling Mountains. The hundreds of miles from the Qinling Mountains to the Steel Wall will become hell on earth. Those were once the people of the Empire." Qin Yin murmured. Su Muyun nodded. "Yes, it is true that the Iha country rebelled, but the south of the Qinling Mountains was once the Empire's territory. The people of Lingnan Province may also be looking forward to the Empire's recovery." Tang Lan was slightly startled and said, "Is Dukyun thinking of sending troops to Lingnan to help the Iha country fight against the demons? It is not impossible, but the premise is that we don't suffer too many losses." Tang Lan nodded and cupped his fists. "Your Highness, Bugu City in the Earth Star Province is the closest to the south of the Qinling Mountains. It is also the closest place to the Iha country. This old official suggests sending an elite division to guard Bugu City. On one hand, they can wait for an opportunity to move, and on the other hand, they can guard the southern border of the Empire's territory. Which division does Duke Lan think is suitable?" Qin Yin asked. Tang Lan said, "The Marquis of Pingnan, Xiangyu, is good at war. He has 50,000 elite troops in 7 Seas City. He is more than qualified." Su Muyun smiled and said, "The Marquis of Pingnan has outstanding achievements and is indeed worthy of this great responsibility. However, the Marquis of Pingnan has to be in charge of the battles along the Dao River. He can't do two things at once. In my opinion, it is better to send another elite division to Bugu City." "Oh? Who does Dukyun think is suitable?" "The Longdan army camp led by Commander Yu." Su Muyun smiled and said, "The Longdan army camp has been on the battlefield for a long time and has fought against the armor demons. They have experience. Moreover, Commander Yu has recently stepped into the Saint Domain. His strength has doubled. Therefore, this old official thinks that the 20,000 heavy cavalry of the Longdan army camp is the most suitable to reinforce Bugu City. On one hand, their combat strength is tyrannical, and on the other hand, their marching speed is fast. In the entire empire, which army can be as pure as the Longdan army camp?" As he said this, Su Muyun cupped his fists and said respectfully, "Your Highness, this official Su Muyun sincerely requests that Your Highness send the Longdan army camp to Bugu City to guard the border." "No!" Qin Yin blurted out. She and Lin Muyu spent more time apart than together. At this time, she wanted Lin Muyu to go to war. This was something that Qin Yin was absolutely unwilling to do. However, she couldn't say this reason out loud. Tang Lan then said, "How about this? Commander Yu will lead the Longdan army camp to guard Bugu City, while the Marquis of Pingnan, Xiangyu will lead the elite troops to Iron Blade Pass. Iron Blade Pass is the southern border of Cangnan Province. It will also face the invasion of the demon race. We cannot slack off." Xiangyu quickly cupped his fists and said, "This general is willing to go to war." Lin Muyu sighed lightly. It seemed that she had no choice but to go to war this time. Thus, she cupped her fists and said, "Your Highness, I am also willing to go to Bugu City to guard the southern border. Su Muyun raised his head and looked at Qin Yin, nodding slightly. Qin Yin murmured, "All right then." 3 days later, they set off. That afternoon, Lin Muyu brought Wei Chou, Qin Yan, Feng Shi and the other generals to the weapons division. The moment she entered the weapons division, she saw Qin Xiling greet her with wild joy and said, "Commander Yu, the improvement of the arrow boxes has been completed. They can penetrate 40 centimeters of logs." "Very good." Lin Muyu nodded and asked, "I will be going to war in 3 days. How many of these arrow boxes can you give me?" The badge of the weapons division supervisor on Qin Xiling's chest shone with a golden light under the sunlight. He smiled and said, "With the manpower of the weapons division and the help of the ironware shop of the Purple Yin Flower Chamber of Commerce, we can forge about 100 improved arrow boxes for Commander to use." 100. Lin Muyu muttered, "That's not bad. The more the better. We can rush day and night. The more of these arrow boxes there are, the greater my chances." Qin Xiling smiled and nodded, saying, "General Xiang Yu just sent someone to place an order. He said he also wants a batch of arrow boxes." "Not giving." Lin Muyu said in a low voice, "Why should I give them the arrow boxes that my people developed? Prioritize the equipment for the Longdan army camp. Also, can these arrow boxes be taken apart and carried?" "Yes, Commander. Don't worry. The 20,000 cavalry in the Longdan army camp will have no problem carrying so many arrow boxes. It won't affect the speed of the army. Also, I will prepare enough arrows for you." "Good, you've really helped us a lot, Xiling." "You're welcome. If I didn't have Commander, I would still be a soldier in Five Valleys City." 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi accompanied Lin Muyu for a full 3 days. They ate together at least every night. 3 days later, Lin Muyu left for war. Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi continued to stay in Lanyan City, looking at each other from afar. Chapter 386. Early in the morning, the fog lingered in Lanyan City. Qin Yin accompanied Lin Muyu out of the Zhe Tian Palace under the protection of 4 female officers of Zhe Tian Palace. The battle was imminent. Lin Muyu was dressed in a military uniform. The dark blue Empire's senior military uniform was covered with heavy silver armor. A white cloak was draped over her back and a silver helmet was tucked under her armpit. She said with a smile, "Xiao Yin, you don't need to send us off. We will march lightly and arrive at Kuku City in a day." "Well, you must be careful." Qin Yin's beautiful eyes were full of reluctance. "Don't worry." Lin Muyu was full of confidence. "I have dealt with the demon race. Moreover, the one who occupied the Qinling Mountains was the bold but foolish Lei Chong, not the wise and brave Qianfeng. There is nothing to be afraid of. Instead, you have to pay attention to the situation of the steel wall along the Yidao River and be on guard against Qianfeng's large-scale attack on Cangnan Province from Winter Frost City." "Well, I know." Qin Yin smiled intimately. She walked forward and opened her arms to gently embrace Lin Muyu's neck. She whispered in his ear, "I will miss you." Lin Muyu's heart was pounding as he smelled the girl's delicate fragrance. There were many ministers watching. Behind him, the 3 generals, Wei Chou, Qin Yan, and Feng Shi, laughed. "Commander, when are we leaving?" "Immediately." Lin Muyu looked at Qin Yin awkwardly. Qin Yin left his embrace and smiled with a red face. She said, "I will wait for you in Lanyan City. I look forward to your triumphant return." "Yes." Lin Muyu turned over and mounted the horse. She pulled the reins and said, "Let's go." Wei Chou immediately led hundreds of Longdan army camp's elite cavalry and slowly marched toward the south gate of Lanyan City. Feng Jixing followed with Zhang Wei and Luo Yu, the two deputy commanders. Planet Earth province is Duke Land's territory. You must be careful when you go there. Feng Jixing said seriously, the guards of Cold Star City and Bugu City are all Duke Land's people. They may not be friendly to you. You have to learn how to protect yourself. Lin Muyu nodded. Feng Jixing pondered for a moment before saying, I will personally supervise the provisions, equipment, and other supplies of the Longdan army camp. I will then have Zhang Wei personally lead 5,000 Imperial Guardsmen to transport them. In addition, Luo Yu will lead 10,000 Imperial Guardsmen to the southern border of the Northern Ridge province. They will be ready to support you at any time. It will only take half a day to reach Bugu City from there. Thank you, Brother Feng. I will be careful. When you go to Bugu City this time, you might encounter demons and people of Iha country. What do you plan to do? The demons are our mortal enemies. We must fight them when we meet them. As for Iha country. Lin Muyu's gaze turned cold. Long Qianlin single-handedly caused Brother Chu Huayin's death. This hatred is absolutely irreconcilable. I saw how Iha country massacred Lanyan City. Don't worry, I know what to do. Then I can rest assured. Feng Jixing looked at him deeply and said, You never trust the people of Iha country. Never try to become their friend. Kill if you can. Don't be benevolent. Understood. Lin Muyu smiled. I am a person who has been sleeping in death for 3 years. I have experienced the pain of losing my family. Don't worry, Lin Muyu is no longer the Lin Muyu of the past. Wait for my triumphant return. I will treat you to a drink. All right. Feng Jixing didn't send them off after they left the south gate. After all, he was the commander of the Imperial Guardsmen. He couldn't lose his duty. Outside the gate, the 20,000 cavalrymen of the Longdan army camp were ready in the fog. The soldiers' eyes were cold and silent. Their warhorses were also very silent. When Lin Muyu rode past, everyone tacitly turned their horses around and galloped away from Lanyan City with their commander. At the rear, the grain convoy dispatched by Minister of War Xue Ling moved slowly. However, Bugu City was only 700 miles away from Lanyan City, not as far away as Winterfrost City, so grain wouldn't be too big a problem. In the fog, the official road was full of dense sounds of hooves. The armors and weapons of the soldiers of the Longdan army camp were all brand new. The army that Lin Muyu had spent a lot of money to build could be called the strongest cavalry regiment in the empire. Banners were flying all over the sky. The caravans along the way gave way to the Longdan army camp from a distance. Watching the strong soldiers galloping past, their faces were full of relief and joy. They knew that this was the army of the empire, an army that protected the people and would never be as brutal as the Iha country and the Devil tribe. The massacre in Lanyan City made the people of the city submit to the Qin family. They passed by many villages and small cities along the way. Until it was almost dusk, a towering city stood in the plains under the setting sun and was surrounded by thousands of villages. It was the capital of the Earth Star province, Cold Star City. The Longdan army camp had galloped for a day and had to rest and resupply outside Cold Star City. Moreover, the letter of Yu had long been sent to Cold Star City, so there were many soldiers of Cold Star City outside the city. Smoke curled up. The Spiritual Fire Division had cooked porridge for the Longdan army camp to rest and eat outside the city. Takshu was fast. Lin Muyu arrived at the city first and ordered, dismount and get ready. We will set off in an hour. Yes. Wei Chou, Qin Yan, Fengshi and the others dismounted one after another and passed down the order. The cavalry of the Longdan army camp stopped at Cold Star City. As soon as the Longdan army camp arrived, the gate of Cold Star City slowly opened and a row of cavalry galloped in. The leader was about 50 years old with 3 golden stars on his collar. He was also a high-ranking general. His face was covered with scars and he was obviously a person who was good at fighting. After dismounting, he said respectfully, "This general is the governor of Earth Star Province and the commander of Cold Star Army, Tang Shi. Greetings to Commander Yu." This was a member of the Tang family and also a feudal lord who was arranged by Tang Lan to guard Earth Star Province here. Lin Muyu immediately put the bowl of porridge in her hand on the table and respectfully cupped her fists. Lin Muyu greets Commander Tang Shi. Tang Shi laughed and said, "I have only heard of the fame of the 4 heroes of Lan Yen before. Now that I have seen Commander Yu with my own eyes, I am really shocked. You are really a brave general of our great Qin. Commander Tang Shi, you flatter me." Lin Muyu said with a smile, "Commander Tang Shi, it is really hard for you to guard Earth Star Province and the Northern Gate for the Empire. Commander Yu, you are too serious." Tang Shi said, 2 days ago, the demon race broke through the Qinling fortress guarded by Long Qianlin. The Iha nation was defeated, so the entire Qinling Mountains almost became the territory of the demon race. Our scouts reported that the traces of the demon race's armor demon corps have appeared on the Qinling Mountains less than 50 miles away from Bugu City. I have already sent 10,000 elites of the Cold Star Army to guard Bugu City. Now that Commander Yu is here, we can ensure that nothing goes wrong. Lin Muyu nodded and said, "Commander Tang Shi, how many soldiers are there in Bugu City now?" "There are many in the city. Together with the 10,000 people of the Cold Star Army, there are about 20,000 soldiers. Once there is a war, I will dispatch 40,000 elites and 30,000 new soldiers in Cold Star City. Please rest assured, Commander Yu." "How many soldiers do the demon race have?" The Thunder Rush army of the demon race is busy killing the cities in the 3 southern provinces of the Iha nation that are not protected by the steel wall. They have no time to care about the empire. Therefore, Commander Yu, don't worry. They will leave no more than 10,000 armor demons in the Qinling Mountains. That's still a very terrifying force. Lin Muyu nodded and thought for a while, then said, "Commander Tang Shi, if possible, please dispatch another 20,000 soldiers to Bugu City to help defend. Once the opportunity is ripe, we will attack Qinling Mountains and take the initiative. Maybe we can also take back the cities adjacent to Qinling Mountains in the Swift White Province." Tang Shi's eyes lit up. "Commander Yu, you want to attack the Iha nation?" "The Iha nation is just a group of traitors. Their land belongs to the Empire. We are just taking back the lost land of the Empire. Before I came, Her Highness gave me an order to act according to the circumstances. As long as the conditions permit, we can attack and defend." With that, Lin Muyu took a deep look at Tang Shi and said with a smile, "Although you are Duke Lan's man, you are also a soldier of the Empire. I don't think I need to say which is the greater contribution, the defense of the Earth Star Province or the recovery of the lost land plundered by the Iha nation." Tang Shi's eyes lit up. "I am willing to listen to Commander Yu's orders." "Good. Dispatch another 20,000 elites to Bugu City. Listen to my orders. Once it is done, I will ask for your credit in front of Her Highness." "Yes." By the time Lin Muyu finished the bowl of porridge on and off, 1 hour had passed. The 20,000 elite cavalrymen in the Longdan army camp were ready. Lin Muyu mounted the horse and gave the order. The army once again set foot on the official road and headed straight for Bugu City at the southern border of the empire. More than 2 hours later, a few scouts from Bugu City appeared on the official road to welcome them. Not long after, they arrived at Bugu City. Bugu City was the same as the Five Valleys city. Because of farming and fishing, it was rich and populous. However, it was only a small rich city and could not be compared to the 7 great cities. It was even inferior to the Cold Star City. The city was not considered too sturdy. Before Lin Muyu entered the city, the Bugu City's garrison general had already come out to welcome her. He was still the general of the Seven Seas City's army. However, he was very polite and did not target her like Tang Lu and Tang Tian. After entering Buga City, Lin Muyu fully took over the defense of the city and all the important political affairs. This time, Qin Yin asked him to come to Buga City, so he could not return empty-handed. At least, he had to make Earth Star Province submit to the Empress, and not just Tang Lan's fief. Late at night, Renbaqian took Wei Chou and Qin Yen out in plain clothes to inspect the defense of the demon race in the Qinling Mountains. Lei Chong was originally a fool who was brave but not astute. Now, this fool brought a group of stupid armor demons into the Yiha nation to burn, kill, and loot, and left another group of idiots here to guard the Qinling Mountains. Presumably, this group of idiots would not be too smart. This was a heaven-sent opportunity for Lin Muyu to seize the Qinling Mountains. The three of them hid in the bushes and looked into the distance. The flames on the Qinling Mountains were swaying. The encampment of the armor demons was very simple and crude. There were only tents made of grass and rattan. Furthermore, more than half of the armor demons slept in the open air. However, it seemed that there were a lot of troops. Tang Shi's words were not false. They had at least 10,000 armor demons guarding the Qinling Mountains. Big brother, in my opinion. Qin Yan's eyes were full of fighting spirit as he said, we can send troops to attack the Qinling Mountains at dawn tomorrow. The elites of the Longdan army camp are not afraid of these 10,000 armor demons. No. Lin Muyu shook her head and said, how about I take down the Qinling Mountains without wasting a single soldier? When I return, I will send light cavalry to provoke them tomorrow and let the armor demons attack Buga City. I want to test the power of the arrow boxes developed by the weapons department. Yes. Chapter 387. At night, candlelight gently swayed in the central tent of the Longdan army camp. Wei Chou spread a simple map on the table with fine sweat oozing from his forehead. He said with a smile, this is the only map we can draw. Commander, you can use it reluctantly. The marks of the demons on the Qinling Mountains have been redrawn. Yes. Lin Muyu put her hand on the table and said, Swift White Province and Earth Star Province are on the two sides of the Qinling Mountains. This part of the Qinling Mountains is about 200 miles long. The demons won't have too many troops to fight against us. Wei Chou nodded, the 10,000 demons are scattered at the pass of the Qinling Mountains. Yes. On the side, Qin Yen held the holy spear that Lin Muyu brought back from the chaotic realm. A trace of worry flashed across his face as he said, Big brother, even if there are only 10,000 demons, they are armor demons after all. We don't have the Daojiang River as a barrier. Once the armor demons attack the Qinling Mountains, I'm afraid that the heavy cavalry of the Longdan army camp won't be able to gain any advantage in the decisive battle on the plains. Not necessarily. Lin Muyu frowned and said, in the Battle of Winter Frost City, we didn't know the strength of the armor demons at all. Therefore, we sent the cavalry to fight the armor demons on the plains, which led to the final defeat. The armor demons are strong and their shells are thick. Ordinary swords can hardly cut through them. Moreover, their strength has reached the point where they are not afraid of the cavalry's impact. However, we always neglected one thing. We gave up the advantage that the cavalry should have. What advantage? Fengxi asked in surprise. Lin Muyu raised the corner of her mouth, mobility. What is mobility? Wei Chou asked. Lin Muyu explained, the so-called mobility refers to the ability to move. No matter how fast the armor demons are, they can't outrun our cavalries. We can adopt harassment tactics. All the heavy cavalry should take off their armors and turn into light cavalries. Then, they should carry bows and arrows and keep a distance from the armor demons. Then, we can keep shooting them with white drill arrows. When the armor demons chase after us, we can send many groups of light cavalries to launch sneak attacks on the armor demons and scatter their forces. Then, we can kill these armor demons by using traps and other tactics. Excitement surged onto Qin Yan's face. Big brother, can this kind of battle tactic really work? Yes, but... Lin Muyu pondered for a second before saying, everything depends on the result of tomorrow's battle. Lei Chang's armor demons corps annihilated the Yangwei corps of the Empire in Winter Frost City, which is a disgrace to the Empire. At this moment, the armor demons have crossed the Qinling Mountains and forced the rebels of the Iha country to retreat again and again. The armor demons' corps is full of arrogance. We must destroy their spirit in tomorrow's battle. Wei Chou nodded. We will follow your arrangements. Good. Lin Muyu nodded and said, tomorrow, 5,000 elite cavalries of the Longdan army camp will follow me out of the city to challenge and lead the armor demons to Buga City. Remember to install all the arrow boxes on the city wall in advance. Whether we can defeat the armor demon army tomorrow depends on the arrow boxes. Rest early tonight and start the action tomorrow morning. Yes. The flames in the Longdan army camp were swaying. Everything seemed so quiet. However, everyone knew that there would be another decisive battle with the demon tribe tomorrow. The Iha country was defeated. All the passes in the Qinling Mountains were in the hands of the demon tribe. The Longdan army camp must take back the control of the nearby passes from the demon tribe. Otherwise, the army of over 100,000 armor demons of the Lei Chong Corps would rush into the core area of the empire after slaughtering the Iha country. The next morning, the sun dispelled the fog and the sound of horses galloping could be heard in the forest. Lin Muyu personally led 5,000 elite cavalrymen of the Courage of Dragon Battalion out of the city and arrived at the foot of the Qinling Mountains. The coniferous pine trees by the road were covered with dew and dripped onto Lin Muyu's armor. Drops of water burst out and splashed onto Lin Muyu's face, making him feel a little cold. Further ahead, there was a spacious mountain road leading to the south of the Qinling Mountains. It was the only place where one could climb over the Qinling Mountains. A pitch-black stone fortress was located in the valley. Mozong Pass, the #1 fortress between the Earthly Star province of the Empire and the Swift White province of the Iha country. However, at this moment, Mozong Pass had already fallen into the hands of the demon tribe. In the distance, armor demons holding heavy battle axes patrolled back and forth on the pass. There was also a demon tribe's battle flag on the pass. The flag was painted with two strangely shaped crossed longswords. It was called God's Sword Flag. It should be the belief of the demon tribe, and probably the reason why the high-level demon tribe were all proficient in swordsmanship. As the horse stepped on the pine leaves, Lin Muyu looked at the Mozong Pass in the distance and said, "Change to bows and arrows. Shoot at the Mozong Pass from half a mile away from the pass to lure the demon tribe out of the pass to fight. We can't go too fast, we must stick to them at a distance." "Yes, Commander." A group of soldiers of the Longdan army camp hung their spears and other long-handled weapons on the side of their horses. They raised their hands to take out their bows and arrows and followed Lin Muyu to gallop towards the Mozong Pass on the mountain ridge. On top of the city gate, a group of armor demons had also discovered the traces of the human army. They seemed to be very excited as they roared in the demon language that Wei Qiu could not understand. Wei Qiu could not help but frown. What are these cockroaches shouting? God knows. Get ready to shoot. Lin Muyu opened her hand and raised the precious carving bow on the side of her horse. She put a special black giant arrow on it. Swirling fighting light appeared on her palm and the power of the overwhelming true dragon yuan fire poured into the giant arrow. With a whoosh, it flew straight towards the pass. The next moment, the giant arrow pierced into the rocks with a pang sound, splashing a cloud of dust. Roar! An armored demon officer looked at the huge arrow inserted into the city wall not far away. Closely after that, he raised his head and looked at the dense heavy cavalries of Dragon Courage Battalion in the distance. At the same time, he couldn't help but raise his battle axe as he roared, F***ck Baina. Commander, what does this demon tribe's language mean? Kill Brazil. Wei Chou asked with a smile after breaking the rope of the demon tribe's flag with one arrow. I don't know. Lin Muyu shook her head and said, it probably means, kill our way out of the city, kill their bloody mothers, and dig their ancestral graves, these stinky cockroaches. How dare they dig our ancestral graves? Wei Chou smiled slightly, after we annihilate the demon tribe, we must dig their ancestral graves. An eye for an eye. The surrounding soldiers of the Longdan army camp all burst into laughter. Right at this moment, the heavy iron gate of the Black Pine Pass suddenly rose with a humming sound. In the next moment, numerous armor demons rushed out with blunt and heavy weapons in their hands while roaring, "Kill Brazil." Some of them even flapped their wings and made short-distance leaps. Indeed, the running speed of armor demons was much faster than that of humans, but it was far slower than that of warhorses. Retreat. Lin Muyu pulled the reins as she urged Snowtreading to turn around and leave. The 5,000 soldiers of the Longdan army camp immediately changed from the vanguard to the rear as they hurriedly returned from the pine woods. However, Wei Chou didn't completely escape. His handsome face was full of killing intent as he ordered, the first team, retreat, the second team, prepare to shoot. Nearly 300 cavalries of the Longdan army camp immediately stopped their warhorses as they turned around and put arrows on their bows. After a round of fierce shooting, they immediately turned around and left. At the same time, the rear team was ready for another round of shooting. After 2 rounds of shooting, some armor demons who were shot in the eyes and mouths wailed miserably and rolled in the pine woods, which further infuriated the other armor demons. Dong! 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 In the distance, the sound of war drums drifted from the Black Pine Pass. Indeed, these simple-minded armor demon generals didn't know how to lure the enemy at all. Out of fury, they chased after the 5,000 elite cavalries of the Longdan army camp led by Lin Muyu. After getting out of the pine woods, Wei Chou didn't stop the archer cavalry tactic. Instead, he kept following the demons. Although the armor demons didn't kill any soldiers of the Longdan army camp, their eyes were all red as they held their battle axes and ran madly. After chasing for nearly 40 miles, the Cuckoo City had already appeared in front of them. Qin Yan and Fengshi were on the city gate as they shouted, "Commander, hurry up and enter the city." The loud sound of war drums on the Cuckoo City directly attracted the attention of the demon army. A demon general who was running at the very front raised his battle axe and roared, "Kill Brazil." The sound of horse hooves was dense. The Longdan army camp quickly entered the city. When the last person entered the city, Lin Muyu ordered loudly, "Close the city gate and prepare the arrow boxes. Once the armor demons enter the shooting range, shoot." The gate was closed with a loud bang. Lin Muyu handed the battle horse to a guard and rushed up the city wall with Wei Chou and other generals with a long sword. Looking from afar, the dense armor demon army surrounded them. Wei Chou couldn't help but take a deep breath. "Commander, there are at least 5,000 armor demons. They are going to do it for real. It doesn't matter. Let them come." Lin Muyu narrowed her eyes and said, "Prepare the arrow boxes." On the city wall, the arrow boxes were placed in a row. The soldiers of the Longdan army camp slowly calibrated the shooting angle, aiming straight at the bottom of the city wall. The shooting from top to bottom would be stronger and could also greatly increase the penetrating power of the arrow boxes. Roar roar, under the city wall, the armor demon army roared and rushed to the city wall. Their way of attacking the city was very simple. They used battle axes to dig the foundation of the city wall. The effect could not be seen in a short time, but after digging for an hour, it would be fatal. Ready, shoot. When the armor demons were about 200 meters away from the city, Lin Muyu ordered decisively. For a moment, hundreds of arrow boxes on the city launched an attack at the same time. Special steel arrows tempered with fire poison shot straight into the distance and penetrated the bodies of the armor demons. As Lin Muyu expected, the powerful penetrating power of the arrow boxes was enough to pierce through the hard armor of the armor demons, and the tempered fire poison could kill the armor demons immediately. In the blink of an eye, a great number of armored demons outside the city gate had died. However, it seemed that these armored demons were unwilling to accept this result. They still attacked the city gate as they hacked the gate with battle axes over and over again. The arrows on the city wall were like rain, all of which were white diamond arrows. The soldiers beside the arrow boxes quickly twisted the wrenches to recharge and reload the arrow boxes. This process was completed by 8 soldiers together. It took about 2 minutes, but it was enough. On the city wall, it was time to perform archery. Wei Chou and the others pulled the bowstrings into a full moon and shot the armor demons that were attacking the city with white diamond arrows again and again. The city gate was covered with countless marks of being hacked by battle axes. It was already a little shaky. Qin Yan couldn't help frowning and said, "Big brother, the city gate is about to be hacked by the armor demons. Should I go?" "Yes, be careful." "Yes." Chapter 388. Roar roar roar, 3 sturdy and valiant armor demons swung their battle axes and fiercely hacked at the city gate. One of the armor demons had been struck by 4 white diamond arrows in a row, causing blood to flow all over his face. It was likely that his brain had been severely injured. His entire body twitched as he fell to the ground, but he still seemed to want to hold his battle axe and continue hacking at the city gate. Behind him, even more armor demons waved their blunt and heavy weapons as they crowded towards the city gate. Although the craftsmanship of the demon race's battle axes was not excellent and had even become rusty, each battle axe weighed nearly 200 kilograms. When it landed on the city gate time and time again, it had already caused the iron sheet on the surface of the Bugu city gate to be flipped over, causing wood splinters to fly everywhere. In the blink of an eye, the city gate collapsed with a loud bang. No one had thought that the defense of Bugu City would actually be this weak. In a short span of less than 20 minutes, the city gate had been breached. Boom! When the city gate collapsed, a group of armor demons with blood-red eyes waved their weapons and charged in almost crazily. However, before they had completely charged in, a powerful Do Chi pounced on them. Bang! The long spear turned into starlight and pierced through the bodies of several armor demons, blasting their bodies straight out of the city gate. The gatekeeper was the deputy commander of the Longdan army camp, Qin Yan. Currently, Qin Yan's cultivation had advanced and had long since stepped into the peak of the 2nd level of the Heaven Realm. The Do Chi on the long spear was thick. Adding on to the fact that he was young and strong, the power of this attack naturally could not be underestimated. However, the number of armor demons was enormous. Furthermore, each and every one of them had entered a crazed battle state. With a furious roar, they charged towards Qin Yan. "Guard the gate!" Qin Yan shouted in a low voice. A large group of Longdan army camp soldiers holding heavy shields raised their shields high and guarded the entrance. Qin Yan, on the other hand, carried his long spear and flew forward, guarding in front of everyone. Dragon Chi flew around his body and condensed into the dark golden dragon scale armor martial soul form. Rock wall, shield armor, piercing armor, and other martial soul skills were all activated. The long spear swept horizontally and chopped towards the 5 armor demons. Peng, Chi strength burst out and the dragon scale armor shone brightly. What a good Qin Yan! He forcefully pushed back the 5 armor demons with the powerful defense of the dragon scale armor. With a thrust of his spear, it pierced through the neck of an armor demon with a puchi sound. This spear was a sacred weapon. Furthermore, Lin Muyu had refined the spearhead with a white diamond. Piercing through the hard armor of an armor demon was naturally a piece of cake. Roar roar roar, Qin Yan's display of power made the armor demons even more furious. Over 100 armor demons charged over without any regard for anything. Many of them even raised their spears and threw them out. Dang dang dang, the long spears continuously collided with the shield wall and the dragon scale armor. The armor demons were born with great strength, the strength of the long spears they threw could be imagined. Qin Yan tried his best to protect the dragon scale armor from being broken, but his face became paler and paler. Meanwhile, there were constantly Longdan army camp soldiers who could not hold on to their shields and were killed by the long spears. Screams sounded one after another, the battle situation became more and more intense. What's going on down there? Lin Muyu was guarding on the city wall. A soldier of Longdan army camp beside her had his head chopped off by a battle axe thrown by an armor demon. Blood and brain mixed and splashed on Lin Muyu's armor. Gritting his teeth, Lin Muyu began to increase the qi in his body and drew out his sword. The attack of the armor demons was too fierce. Even though the Longdan army camp had the advantage of defending the city wall, they did not have the absolute upper hand. This was absolutely unacceptable. With a bang sound outside the city gate, golden light radiated in all directions. At the same time, Qin Yan's roar drifted over. An armor demon who was holding a battle axe of at least 300 kilograms was sent flying by the dragon scale armor. However, his face was full of ferocious and contemptuous smile. Obviously, Qin Yan could not bear this blow anymore. Additionally, this armor demon was wearing the badge of a senior general on his chest. He should be at least a chiliarch in the armor demon army. He might even be captaincy. Therefore, Qin Yan had to get rid of this armor demon general first, otherwise, the city gate would be in danger. Clang! Lin Muyu drew out the dragon spirit sword. The qi around her revolved and condensed into the holy domain's raging whirlwind. Wei Chou was shocked and hurriedly said, "Commander. You are the commander of the 3 armies of Bugu City. You are a wise general, not a fighting general. You can't fight in person. I beg you, Commander, don't go. It's okay." Lin Muyu smiled confidently and said, "When I was in the heaven realm, I could fight with the armor demons. Now that I am in the holy domain, they can't do anything to me. Don't worry, I won't be too eager to fight. I'm just fighting for an advantage for Ah Yen. You guys guard the city wall." "Yes." In Wei Chou's worried eyes, Lin Muyu flipped over and flew down the city wall. Her body was wrapped in a thick milky white battle armor. Her long sword fell from the sky like a star falling into the human world. Boom! The power of the sword was like a god descending to the world. In the sword light, the bodies of 3 armor demons were torn into pieces, and a foul smell spread in all directions. Ordinary armor demons couldn't resist the first strike of Lin Muyu's star tactics. The sword light fell to the ground, leaving a long ravine, and went straight to the feet of the armor demon general. He looked up at Lin Muyu with a pair of scarlet eyes full of ferocity and anger. He suddenly spun the battle axe in his hand and roared, "Cha Baha!" Lin Muyu didn't know what he was talking about, but she knew that he must be scolding her. Therefore, she didn't show any mercy. She gently opened her left hand, and a ribbon of 7-color Milky Way slowly condensed. It was the star chain, the second movement of the star skill. She rushed forward and raised her palm. The ribbon quickly wrapped the armor demon general in the air. Roar! The armor demon general kept roaring. His confidence in his own strength made him very arrogant. He thought that his battle axe could chop everything in the world. Unfortunately, this axe was like a clay ox falling into the sea under the restraint of the star chain. He couldn't exert any strength at all. The star chain was like a rope that tied him tighter and tighter, and even the sound of bones cracking came from his arms. He kept screaming miserably. Die! Lin Muyu rushed forward as she abruptly stepped on the chest armor of this armored demon general with her battle boots. Closely after that, she rotated her dragon spiritual sword and stabbed towards the neck of the armored demon with blazing true dragon's original flame, penetrating its heart from top to bottom. When the armored demon general fell down, Lin Muyu pulled out her bloody long sword as she leaped up and landed on the ground. Her white robe fluttered in the wind, which made her look pretty handsome. Roar! Roar! Around, nearly 100 armor demons who had besieged the city gate were dumbfounded. Their faces were filled with anger and fear. Finally, they threw out their weapons and went straight to Lin Muyu. Lin Muyu's eyes turned cold. She shouted in a low voice. The golden gourd wall broke out of her body and lingered around her. Suddenly, the battle axes and spears were bounced away. Around her, a group of unarmed armor demons roared loudly. Their commander was killed, and they had lost their minds. It seemed that they would not give up attacking until they killed Lin Muyu at the city gate. Facing a group of armor demons, Lin Muyu did not panic. A vigorous fighting aura rushed straight to her high. The next moment, the fighting aura could be transformed into spiritual power. A powerful saint realm fell from the sky, and the field was enshrouded with the luster of golden god-binding chains. Lin Muyu's realm pressure was enhanced by the divine power of god-binding chains, which was far beyond that of an ordinary sanctuary expert. Bang, 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 the murderous armor demons felt as if their bodies were shackled. Many of them actually knelt on the ground. Under the powerful saint realm pressure, they had no power to resist at all. The sword light flashed. Lin Muyu beheaded the armor demons one by one like a reaper. In the blink of an eye, she had beheaded nearly 50 armor demons. Finally, the fighting aura in her body was not enough to maintain the realm. The moment the realm was lifted, the armor demons stood up and ran back. They had realized that this powerful human in front of them was not someone they could defeat. In the distance, there was the unique sharp conch sound of the armor demons. They were giving the order to retreat. Below the city, there were still many armor demons attacking the city. However, they were greeted by the merciless baptism of the white diamond arrows. The resistance of the armor demons became weaker and weaker. In the end, it turned into an escape. Thousands of armor demons fled to Black Pine Pass in disorder, giving up the attack on Buga City. Lin Muyu returned to the city. Her battle robe was stained with blood. Qin Yan's arm was wrapped in gauze. He seemed to have suffered a minor injury. He said excitedly, "Big brother, let's attack while these cockroaches are fleeing in panic." "No." Lin Muyu shook her head. "Don't chase a cornered enemy. Moreover, there are still many armor demons. Once we fight outside, we will lose the protection of the city. I'm afraid we won't be their match." In fact, the most important thing was that Lin Muyu had used the Saint Realm pressure to kill many armor demons. However, she had used up nearly half of the fighting aura in her body. It would be inappropriate to chase after them. These armor demons were too powerful. It would cost a lot to defeat them. On the side, Fengxi said, "You're right, madam. The armor demons are tyrannical and have infinite strength. Once they are forced to fight with us in the wild, I'm afraid the Longdan army camp will have to pay at least 3 times the price of the enemy to annihilate them. It's not worth it." "Yes." Lin Muyu nodded and said, "Send people out of the city to pull the arrows. Don't pull the arrows from the armor demons whose blood isn't red. After pulling out the arrowheads, count the number of armor demons and bury them all in a big pit. Bury them deep. There are many bacteria on the armor demons. Don't let them give birth to a plague." "Yes." Qin Yan cupped his fists and said with a respectful smile, "Big brother, before we set off, Her Highness the Empress added a reward regulation to the military system reform. It requires that after killing an armor demon, they can knock out 2 of its fangs as proof. Should we knock out the fangs of these dead armor demons?" Okay, go. Yes. In the old system of the Empire's army, once the enemy was defeated, the way to reward the soldiers was to set up camp, massacre the city, and plunder the city's property. However, these rules had long been abolished in Lin Muyu's Longdan army camp. Therefore, getting them to knock out the fangs of the armor demons was the best reward. Looking at the countless corpses of the armor demons outside the city, Lin Muyu was full of ambition. This was the first time that she had won an absolute victory against the armor demon legion. She needed to make persistent efforts to find the weak points of the armor demons to avenge the humiliation of the defeat in Winter Frost City. She could also avenge Min Yulin, Min Zhan, Su Ying, and other generals who died in the battle. Chapter 389. The night sky of Jianghu City was filled with stars, and the sounds of insects could be heard from the distant forest. It was very tranquil. The Longdan army camp was set up in the open space in the southern part of the city. Warhorses were chewing on fodder, and soldiers were training to charge and defend with shields under the cover of the night. In the central tent, the dim light from the candlelight shone on Lin Muyu's slightly tired face. On the side, Wei Chou respectfully held the file and said, "In today's battle, we lost 316 people, 748 were seriously injured, and 2,174 armor demons were killed. No one survived. The steel arrows and white diamond arrows that we used have been pulled out, and more than 300 white diamond arrows are missing." Lin Muyu raised her head and asked, "Where did these white diamond arrows go? Can't they be pulled out?" "They probably can't be pulled out." Wei Chou smiled awkwardly. "Most of these white diamond arrows are still stuck in the bodies of the escaping armor demons, then forget it." Lin Muyu was a little speechless. At this moment, Fengxi entered the tent and said, "Commander, Jianghu City Lord Wang Ju requests to see you." "Oh? Please come in." "Yes." Not long after, a middle-aged man wearing the uniform of a civil official walked in. He was very fat and wore a 2-star insignia on his neck. His expression was very flattering as he bowed and said with a smile, "Little Wang Ju pays his respects to Commander Yu." Lin Muyu stood up and said with a smile, "Sire, Wang Ju is too polite. What brings you to the Longdan army camp so late at night?" Wang Ju said, "Commander Yu has shown great power today and defeated the demon army that wiped out the Iha nation's rebel army. It's an eye-opener for us. With a famous general like Commander Yu, the Empire will definitely be able to recover the lost land and unify the continent." When Lin Muyu heard this kind of flattery, she immediately felt disgusted and said, "What exactly does Darren want? Just say it. It's like this." Wang Ju smiled flatteringly and said, "The brothers in the Longdan army camp have worked hard this entire day, and some of them were even injured. As the army that Her Highness Yin personally leads, the Longdan army camp is able to shed blood and sweat for our small Chuchu city, so the colleagues in Chuchu city are very grateful and have done their best to prepare some food, weapons, and women to send over. Commander, please rest assured, these women are very clean, and some are even virgins. If their bodies can make the generals of the Longdan army camp happy, this is all our fortune." "Where did these women come from?" Lin Muyu asked. Wang Ju was stunned and said respectfully, "They are all refugees who escaped from Lanyan City after the war, and some local women who sold themselves as slaves. Their origins are very clean, please rest assured, Commander Yu." Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile and said, "Thank you for your kindness, but the Longdan army camp doesn't take in any camp girls. This is our rule, and I hope you can forgive us. We can't take any of these women. As for the food, weapons, and so on behalf of the Longdan army camp and Her Highness the Empress, we want all of them." Wang Ju was startled and said, "Commander Yu, most of the officers and soldiers in the Longdan army camp are men in their prime. Do you really not need women?" "There's no need. Lin Muyu shook her head and said, the soldiers in the Longdan army camp can get a certain amount of pay every month, and they will be rewarded after killing the armor demons. Moreover, I will give them a few days off every month. If they need anything, they can go to the brothel to solve it. There's no need to bother you, Governor. In this case. I understand. Commander Yu's strict management of the army is admirable. If there's nothing else, Governor, please go back. I still have to deal with some military affairs. Lin Muyu appreciates your kindness. After we defeat the devil race in the Earth Star province, I will speak to Her Highness about Wang Ju's support and kindness to the Longdan army camp. Then. Thank you very much, Commander Yu. Wang Ju was so excited that he actually knelt down. Both he and Lin Muyu were important officials of the empire, and they didn't need such etiquette. This could only explain Wang Ju's excitement. After all, Bugu City was just a small city in a remote province, and he might not have the chance to see the Empress even once in his life. Now that Lin Muyu said that she would put in a good word for him in front of Qin Yin, it was like giving him a new lease on life. After seeing Wang Ju leave, Lin Muyu immediately lowered her head and continued to look at the files and maps on the table. Wei Chou watched Wang Ju leave and said with a smile, "It's really interesting, these officials." Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile and said, "Aren't all officials like this? It's fine as long as these people don't disrupt our operation." Yes. A trace of respect flashed across Wei Chou's face as he cupped his fists and said, "Commander, Sir Qin Yen has already brought people to dig a pit in the 70 Jianghu forest. It will be completed in one night. Are we really going to continue the challenge tomorrow morning?" "Yes." Lin Muyu nodded her head and said with a smile, "The demons have lost nearly a quarter of their troops in this battle, and they must be very upset. They are very eager to wash away their shame, but unfortunately, there are no intelligent generals in the Armor Demon Legion of the 10,000 demons. They are all a bunch of idiots. As long as we provoke them tomorrow, they will definitely be fooled. However, don't attack the Black Pine Pass tomorrow. We will challenge the Jiayuan Pass instead. There are about 3,000 armor demons guarding the Jiayuan Pass. After eliminating these 3,000 armor demons, we can more or less open up the road to Iha Nation." Wei Chou was startled and said, "Commander, you want to go to Iha Nation?" "Yes." Lin Muyu's eyes looked at the file. The fighting aura around him was dense, showing that his heart was not calm. However, his voice was very calm as he said faintly, "Big Brother Qin Lei's head has been chopped off and soaked in a medicine bottle. It is still in Lingnan." As he said this, he raised his head and looked at Wei Chou. His clear eyes were filled with hatred as he muttered, "There is not a night that I don't have nightmares. There is not a day that I don't want to kill my way to Lingnan, take back my big brother's head and bury him under the nation-guarding monument." Wei Chou was moved. His eyes were red as he cupped his fists and said, "No matter what Lord Commander plans to do, Wei Chou swears to follow you with my life and will never regret it." "Yes. Don't worry, I won't let you guys risk your lives to take back lost land. I won't let everyone fall into danger again." Lin Muyu lowered his head and continued to look at the map. He asked, "What's the situation in Lingnan? Is there any news? I heard that Marshal Lei Chong of the demon race has led a 170,000 armored demon army and started a massacre in dozens of big and small cities in Lingnan. Blood flowed for thousands of miles, but the rebel army of Iha Nation didn't resist at all and retreated all the way to the steel protective wall. Lingnan is now a sea of blood. Not only did the hypocritical Iha Nation fail to protect the civilians, they even disregarded them. The people of the world should have clearly seen Qin Yi's hypocritical face by now." "I understand." Lin Muyu rubbed his temples tiredly and said, "What about Long Qinlin's army? Have they all retreated?" "Yes." Wei Chou said, "When Long Qianlin retreated from Lanyan City, he took with him 50,000 Lingnan iron cavalry. Now, the military authority of these 50,000 cavalry has been given to Long Qianlin by Qin Yi. After 3 years of tempering, these 50,000 cavalry have become the most tyrannical fighting force of Lingnan Iha nation. They are called the Dragon Cavalry by the Lingnan dukes. They are well equipped and have brilliant tactics. However, after the demon race invaded Lingnan, the Dragon Cavalry has always avoided fighting. I don't know what Long Qianlin is thinking. Dragon Cavalry? Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile. She looked at the patterns on the table and suddenly a dense killing intent arose. Commander, you. Wei Chou was startled and said, "What are you thinking about?" "No, nothing," Lin Muyu shook her head and said, "I have a premonition that our Longdan army camp and the Dragon Cavalry will fight. Just wait and see." Wei Chou, continue to strengthen the training of the Longdan army camp. One day, I want the Longdan army camp to completely annihilate Long Qianlin's Dragon Cavalry to comfort Chu Huayin's soul in heaven. Yes, this subordinate will. Wei Chou cupped his fists and looked at Lin Muyu with concern. He said, "Milord, you must be tired from the battle during the day. Rest early. As for the remaining matters, General Wei Chou, Fengxi, and Qin Yan will naturally take care of them." "Yes, I know." Lin Muyu stood up and put on a milky white battle robe. She said, "Have someone boil a basin of hot water for me. I want to soak my feet." "Yes, Commander." In the Lingnan province, a steel wall covered in sheets of iron stretched across the continent. It was extremely majestic. It was also this steel wall that protected the Iha country from being destroyed by the armored demon army. On the wall, a young general wearing a commander's cloak gazed majestically at the sparsely lit city in the distance. His eyes were filled with coldness and anger as he said, "Which city is that?" Reporting to General Long, judging from the direction, it is Chiyuan City. There are about 100,000 people in the city. Now, it has already become the territory of the demon race. On the side, a captaincy said indifferently. Long Qianlin sighed and said, 100,000 people died in the hands of the demon race just like that. We are all sinners, sinners of the Iha country and the human race. Captaincy gritted his teeth and said, "They are strong while we are weak. There is no other way. There is no need for General Long to blame yourself. How is the training of the chain iron formation going?" "It is still in training." Captaincy was somewhat speechless. He cautiously asked, "General Long, are we really going to use the chain iron formation to fight the Thunder Rush Demon Corps? If we lose, the 50,000 dragon riders will be gone. The Iha country's most elite army will be gone." Long Qianlin's eyes shot out a beam of light. Still looking at the north of the steel wall, he said, "The dragon riders are the army of the king. If we cannot defeat the enemy in front of us for the commander, how can we be the army of the king? Just listen to my orders. In 3 days, the dragon riders will pass through the steel wall and avoid the main force to fight the Thunder Rush Demon Corps. I will personally go out and test the power of the chain iron formation." "Yes." The cold wind caused Long Qianlin's body to tremble. He suddenly asked, "What is the empire doing now that the Qinling Mountains have fallen into the hands of the demon race?" "Xiang Yu and Lin Muyu have led their troops to the Qinling Mountains. I wonder how the battle is going." "Lin Muyu is here too." Long Qianlin's face was full of pain. "It is late, I am going to sleep." "Yes, General Long. You're tuning in to the Unparalleled SwordWill YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.